Aita for wanting to uninvite my sister-in-law from my wedding because she keeps undermining my wedding planning. My fiancé Nate, 27M, and I, 26F, have been together for almost 3 years. He proposed to me about 6 months ago, and shortly after, we found out I was pregnant. We are planning on having our wedding in the spring of next year. Nate has a twin sister, 27F, who we will call Kayla. Nate and I announced our engagement and my pregnancy at the same time. We made a cute little Facebook post with a couple engagement pics and an ultrasound photo that said something along the lines of, "The Smith family is going to have 2 new additions." Kayla commented almost immediately that we will have to wait until next year to actually get married because she looks best in fall colors, and as my maid of honor she'll get a say in choosing bridesmaids' dresses. I literally stared at my phone screen wondering if I read something wrong. I showed the comment to Nate and asked him why she thought she would be my maid of honor. He had no clue. So, I texted her and this is how that exchange went. Me, "Hey Kayla, I see you saw our announcement on Facebook. Thank you for being ready to step up for me, but we haven't started working out wedding logistics yet. And I haven't picked my bridesmaids, much less my maid of honor. Once we have more details of the wedding worked out, we will let you know." Kayla, "Well, you don't have to choose a maid of honor anymore. I'm your maid of honor." Me, "I don't understand. I never asked you to be." Kayla, "You don't have to ask. That's what makes me such a good sister." Me, "I'm sorry, you are not my maid of honor." Kayla, "We'll see about that." I showed these messages to Nate who said he would deal with it. I have no idea what the extent of their conversation was, but Kayla never brought up being my maid of honor again. She just reared her ugly attitude in different ways. As of now, Nate and I have booked the venues, caterer, the florals, decorations, and the DJ already. A couple months ago, I invited mine and Nate's mothers, along with my sister, Sam, who I asked to be my maid of honor, to do some dress shopping. Kayla found out from her mom and invited herself to tag along. We started by looking for a dress for Sam. I wanted my bridesmaids in a pretty pastel yellow, but Sam's is going to be more golden. Kayla would not shut up about how yellow is such an ugly color and I should go with pink or blue instead. She even grabbed a bunch of pink and blue dresses to try on herself. I tried my best to ignore her while her mother entertained her bizarre ideas. Sam and my mother were making constant comments about how it's my wedding and if Kayla isn't going to be helpful, she should just leave. Unfortunately, she didn't and I am too nice to kick her out in front of my MIL who I already have a strained relationship with. Our mothers were able to shop for their dresses with little interference from Kayla, but as soon as I started trying things on, she had all sorts of things to say. She would tell me that certain styles wouldn't look good once I had a baby bod, and even told me I should consider not wearing white since I'm obviously not a virgin. I told her she wasn't a virgin when she got married either, yet she still wore an adorable white sundress to the courthouse. She grumbled about how that wasn't the same but I was already halfway back to the changing room. I still don't know what happened while I was in there, but when I came out, Kayla and MIL were gone and Sam had a smug smile on her face. I never discussed any details of the wedding with Kayla if I could help it, but I've heard Nate sharing some of our plans with her. He told her we were planning on a buffet-style meal because we have a lot of dietary restrictions in our families and that was the cheapest way to accommodate everybody, literally like a few $1,000 difference, and she told him he deserved someone who wouldn't go cheap on his wedding, even though the buffet was his idea. He told her about our venue choices. He picked the reception venue, I picked the ceremony venue, which is the same place my parents got married. My father passed away and since he cannot walk me down the aisle, I always wanted to get married in the same place he married my mom to sort of feel like he was there with us. She told Nate that my venue choice was tacky and people would make fun of us. When he mentioned he wanted a DJ, she made a comment about how she knew I wasn't classy enough to want a live band. Each and every time she would make comments like this, Nate would tell her that they were his ideas, but not call her out for how she spoke about me, which I do feel a little hurt by. I've expressed this to him and he told me that he would try to do better about calling her out, but she's just always been this way. I told him that's no excuse for her to be disrespectful and stick her nose into business that doesn't concern her. He hesitantly agreed. On Friday, I got an email from the venue for our ceremony, confirming our cancellation and asking if we needed to reschedule. Shortly after that, I got a voicemail from our caterer explaining that my new wedding planner had just called, but the line had dropped and was wondering if I could pass along her phone number so they could finish going over changes to the menu. I immediately emailed the venue back, saying that no, we are not canceling or rescheduling, please keep our original date on the books. I called the caterer, who explained that a woman had called and said she was my new wedding planner. She had said that I wanted to make some changes to the contract, namely switching from a buffet style to plated meals. I told him that this was not the case. I do not have a wedding planner and please do not make any changes unless contacted by me or Nate directly with the contact information we have on file. The caterer suggested putting a password on file also. He said he wouldn't make any changes unless the person requesting them knew the password. I called both venues and all of our other vendors to put in place the same types of precautions. They all gave their sympathies for me having to deal with this. When Nate got home from work, I confronted him about it. I told him someone tried to cancel my venue and change our catering. I told him the only person it could be is Kayla. He tried to deny and say that she wouldn't do it, but I reminded him of how she's undermined and insulted me during every step of this engagement. I told him I wanted her uninvited. I will give someone who has already done so much to make this wedding stressful the opportunity to do something like show up in white. He fought me on this, but I basically told him that I felt disrespected by him over how he is allowing Kayla to treat me. I'm his partner and the mother of his child. My feelings and comfort should be more important to him than his sister's childish antics. We met with her for lunch earlier today, and once we got dessert, he asked her if she was trying to make changes to our wedding plans. She said, and I quote, "Well, yeah. It's the maid of honor's job to make sure the bride is making the right decisions." Before Nate could even say anything, I told her she is not my maid of honor, and even if she was, that would not give her the authority to undermine our decisions and make changes to the wedding plans and budget behind our backs. She said she didn't see what the big deal was since her grandmother had offered us a pretty large chunk of change as a present to help pay for the wedding. I told her again, the wedding budget is none of her business. She tried to argue, but I just cut her off. I told her that her behavior regarding our wedding thus far has been nothing but disrespectful and insulting. I told her trying to cancel my venue had crossed the line and she was no longer invited to the wedding. She seemed absolutely shocked by this. She looked at Nate, waiting for him to defend her. And then he did. He looked at me and said, "Why don't we give her one more chance?" I asked if he was kidding. He said no. That Kayla was only doing what she thought was best for us, and now that we've told her that it wasn't okay, we should give her a chance to correct her behavior. I didn't even respond. I just got up and left. I went and got in my car and drove home, thinking to myself if he wanted to side with his sister, then he could rely on her to get home. I ignored him trying to get a hold of me. Once at home, I packed a small bag and left for Sam's house. I told her everything and she told me I could stay as long as I needed to. But now she's at work for the night and that's where I am now. Trying to process what just happened. Trying to figure out when I became second place in Nate's life. Trying to figure out if there's any way to fix what he just broke in me. He keeps switching between asking where I am, telling me he didn't think this was that big of a deal, and apologizing and asking me to come home and talk. I don't feel ready to talk to him just yet. I'm still too upset and I feel like I'll do or say something I will regret, like call off the wedding altogether. I just told all my vendors that we aren't canceling the wedding, but right now I kind of want to. I don't know if it's my hormones making me feel crazy or if I'm valid in how hurt I'm feeling. I just don't know what to do or what to think. So, Aita for not wanting to give her a second chance. Or is my fiancé right that she deserves a chance to prove herself before she's uninvited from the wedding altogether? TLDR, my sister-in-law continues to insult my wedding choices and tried to cancel my venue and change my catering contract. I want her uninvited. My fiancé wants to give her another chance now that we've told her this behavior is unacceptable. Comments. Commenter 1. You are in the right and I think a wedding cancellation or at least delay is in order until he can show you come before his sister. His sister tried to change the venue that was meaningful for you because it was a reminder of your father. To cancel that over anything else is not just over the line, but it's cruel. You gave him many chances to get her in line. He failed. One thing I would recommend if you do go forward with him is that when meeting with her let him take the lead, even if you do agree with what he is saying. It will be the biggest indicator of his mindset and ensures that she doesn't/can't blame you for boundaries he is placing. Reply, thank you. He keeps saying I just don't know her well enough to know that all her comments and jokes are harmless. But this one wasn't just a comment, she actually tried to cancel my venue. I honestly couldn't care less about the catering, that one was just weird. But my venue was special. It was too far. Commenter 2. Your fiancé is spineless and his sister is a delusional bully. You also said you have a strained relationship with his mother. Why are you marrying into this mess? Update. First of all, I just wanted to say thank you to everyone who read my original post and offered their judgments and advice. Writing this out really helped me process what I was feeling, and hearing that I wasn't overreacting or just being hormonal from people that are removed from the situation was very comforting. I read every single comment and there is no way to express how much all the kind words meant to me. There were lots and lots of comments asking for an update, but I wanted to wait until after I had talked to Nate. I spent last night at Sam's house and mostly ignored Nate's texts and calls. Kayla texted me once also telling me to not let my hormones make me irrational. I just blocked her, but someone advised to unblock and just silence her notifications so if she escalates, I could maybe use it in court for my custody case. I did unblock her earlier today, and I'm glad I did. But we'll get there. I replied to Nate at one point last night telling him that I was safe and at Sam's house and that I would be home tomorrow, today, after work to talk about everything. I expressed again that I was feeling really hurt about not being heard or backed up by him and that I needed time to decide what I wanted to do. He asked what I meant by that, if I meant canceling the wedding altogether. I told him that is exactly what I was considering. His reply: "Don't let your hormones make you do something irrational. We'll talk tomorrow." Anyone else want to take a guess as to where he got that line? That just about made my decision for me. I didn't reply, not even when he texted me, "Good night, I love you." Instead, before I went to bed for the night, I sent him a link to my post and told him to read through it before we talk. Someone said he probably sent it to Kayla, too. If she did read it, she hasn't commented, and if she texted me about it, it was while I had her blocked. This morning, I called into work and had breakfast with Sam. She gave me the number of a family lawyer that her friend used for his custody case. I spoke to the assistant, explained my situation, and luckily, she had a slot open after lunch for an initial consult. So I took a shower and basically just kept reading through the comments on my post until it was time to talk to her. I told the lawyer exactly why I am leaving Nate and how I am terrified over how his sister would influence him with our baby. I don't trust him to not be influenced by Kayla and to have our baby's best interest in mind, so I want to fight for sole custody and supervised visitation. I told her, if possible, I want to include something that restricts Kayla from having any contact with my child. I am already mentally preparing to have to fight Nate in court, because I know he will not agree to any of this. My lawyer told me that while my concerns are valid, it may be difficult to convince a judge to put a contact restriction in the custody order based on family drama alone. She advised me to document everything Kayla has done and anything moving forward so we can present it to the judge if and when we end up in court. She gave me a list of things to think about, like if I want Nate to get any custody at all or just visitation, how I want to handle things like medical care or education for my child, if I want to put communication restrictions, like only talking over text. Lots of things I never would have thought of and never thought I would have to think of. We were supposed to do all of this together. She told me to take a few days to gather my thoughts and decide on what I want. I scheduled an in-person meeting for this Friday to go over everything. Hopefully I will have my mind straight by then, but if anyone has any advice when it comes to what to put on these custody papers, I'm all ears. After the phone call with my lawyer, I checked some more comments and then took a much-needed nap. When I woke up, I had a text from Nate asking what time I would be off work so he could have dinner ready for me when I get home. I told him I would be there around 5, but if Kayla is there, I will be turning around and leaving without a word. I then asked him if he read the post I sent him. He said, "I did. But I would rather talk to you than read you bash me and my sister on the internet with a bunch of strangers." Don't worry, I told Kayla she's not welcome. This pissed me off beyond belief. Clearly he either didn't read the post, or still doesn't realize how truly in the wrong they are here. Either way, I lost all motivation to try and talk to work things out. I'm just done. I texted him, "Don't worry about dinner. All I will be doing is gathering some more things and dropping off my lawyer's contact info. There's nothing more for us to discuss." He asked what I meant, what lawyer, and told me he's been waiting to talk about this. All I said was, "Fine." Sam wished me luck before I left and assured me I was welcome back once we were done talking. I told her I absolutely would be back and thanked her for everything so far. Then, I stopped and got one of those boba refreshers from Starbucks to calm my nerves before I went home. When I got home, Nate had dinner ready just like he said. I ignored him and just went straight to our room to pack up some more of my clothes and toiletries. He tried asking me if I really wasn't going to talk to him, but I just ignored him for the time being. Just seeing his face made my anger flare up and I wanted to be smart about our discussion. After a while, he gave up and just went to eat in the dining room. When I was finished I went and sat with him at the table, but didn't touch any of the food. I started a voice memo on my phone before I said, "Go ahead." He looked at me all confused so I told him he was the one that wanted to talk and must have so much to say. "So, go ahead." He stumbled over his words for a while but ultimately started off with an apology, trying to tell me he didn't realize I was so upset with Kayla's behavior. I asked him if he remembered how hard I cried after I got home from dress shopping because of her comments about my choices and my body. If he remembered having to talk to her about not being my maid of honor. If he remembered our conversation just a few days ago, where I told him canceling my venue that held so much sentiment to me was way too far over the line. He said he did each time and tried to add a, but, to argue, but I just cut him off with my next example. I told him that after all of that, he 100% should have known I was beyond done with her bullshit. I told him I was so hurt and pissed that I wanted her uninvited. But he wanted to give her another chance. To what? Cancel our DJ and book a live band? Dye my dress red or show up in white herself? He told me she would never do that. I told him he told me she would never cancel my venue, but then she admitted to it in front of our faces. I told him I don't trust his opinion on his sister and that he is just as delusional as she if he thinks she will change. I asked him why he even told her so many details of our wedding anyway. Why does her opinion for our wedding even matter? He tried to tell me that because Kayla didn't get to have a real wedding when she got married, she was just a little too excited about ours. I told him she has all the right in the world to be excited. But that does not give her any rights to insult or change our choices regarding what we want for our wedding. She'll have plenty of opportunities to have a real wedding. If she could stop for 2 seconds and take her nose out of our wedding business, she could go out and find a man or woman to marry herself. Poor soul, whoever that may be. I asked him, what's next? She gets to name our baby since she lost her own. The look on his face made my stomach feel hollow. He told me, and I quote, actually, Kayla does have a few ideas for what we could name our daughter. Side note, I had mentioned in a comment previously that we were waiting to be surprised about the gender of our baby. We were discussing baby names and had settled on the top 3 for each gender. We agreed to keep them to ourselves until the baby is born. I asked if he said, daughter, and he looked like a deer caught in my headlights. He backtracked, but I pressed the issue. I asked him flat out if he knows the gender of our baby. He hesitated, but ultimately confessed to remembering that I filled out an information release form at my first OB visit, so he called the office and asked them for the results of our gender scan, claiming that we changed our minds and he was going to do a reveal for me. I feel absolutely sick and violated. I asked him what the fuck he was thinking. He said Kayla was feeling left out since Sam was planning my baby shower and not including her and that she just couldn't wait to find out. I demanded he tell me everything. What else has he gone behind my back to do? Did he give her the idea to pretend to be our wedding planner? Was he the one that had her cancel my venue and change our catering? He tried to tell me no, of course not. She did that on her own. But I could just tell that he was lying. He absolutely put her up to all of this. At that point I didn't even care why he did. It's clear that none of our decisions will ever actually be ours. He will always do whatever the hell he wants to and get Kayla to back him up. I don't even want to think about how many of our decisions in the past were completely undermined and changed by these two. I asked him if Kayla came to him and told him everything I'm telling him. That she doesn't feel supported by her partner. That her partner went behind her back to learn the gender of their baby without her. That her partner was retroactively changing every decision that they had agreed upon. That her partner was letting their sibling bully her relentlessly. What would he say to her? He didn't have a response, and honestly, if he did, I didn't want to hear it anymore. I knew the answer. I told him that as the woman who is supposed to be his wife, me and the baby I am carrying should be his top priority, not his twin sister. I said him going behind my back like this for something as important as the gender of our baby is absolutely unforgivable. There is nothing that he can say or do to fix this now. I told him I will no longer be marrying him, but it's up to him if he wants to cancel all the vendors. I said, you're more than welcome to use it all to marry Kayla, seeing as she's the one you obviously care the most about. He tried to backtrack and apologize and explain, but every time I just cut him off and told him that I had heard enough, and my mind was made up. There is no going back now. If he wants to have even the slimmest chance to get me back and have a real relationship with our baby, he will need to attend some serious therapy and do a lot of work on himself and his relationship with Kayla. I told him no woman in her right mind would ever marry him while he was this enmeshed with her. I told him that any contact we have moving forward will be through my lawyer. I want nothing to do with his family, and if I get what I want, they will have nothing to do with my daughter because I'll be damned if I let him subject her to this treatment. I put my lawyer's name and phone number on the table and walked out. He didn't try to follow me. So now, on top of dealing with my lawyer for the custody case, do I have to file a complaint with my OB office? Are they allowed to just give him this information without my express consent? Or did me stupidly putting him on the information release form I signed give them blanket consent to share any and all information with him? God, I didn't think this could get any worse, but I guess that's on me for being naive. I'm glad I recorded the conversation, though, and got him admitting to doing all of this. I don't know how or if it will help my custody case, but I send it to my lawyer with a note that we can discuss more on Friday. I'm back at Sam's place now. She was already at work when I got back, but I texted her to wake me up when she gets home. I need my sister. I also called my mom and told her everything that's happened so far. She cried with me for a while and then asked me if I needed her to do anything. I asked her if she'd be willing to go to the house with Sam and get the rest of my stuff because I do not want to see Nate right now. Just picturing his face is making me feel sick. She said she is more than willing. Kayla did text me again. I'm assuming Nate talked to her after I left. It was a very long, cruel message that I don't want to repeat here. I can post a screenshot if anyone cares for the whole message, if I can figure out how to attach one, but to summarize, she just called me a delusional control freak who can't let Nate make any decisions for himself and insulted my venue choice once again. And then said that she hopes my baby is stillborn because I don't deserve to be a mother. Honestly, after reading it, I thought the message would hurt, but it just gave me a really good laugh. I took a screenshot and sent it to my lawyer as well, and that's where we're at. The wedding is off. I will call all the vendors tomorrow and see if we can get any deposits back. If not, I'll let them know to contact Nate and Kayla to see if they would like to keep things as planned. Let them throw a party for all I care. But I will be canceling my venue regardless of my refund. Neither of them are going to step foot in that sacred place if I can help it. I didn't realize how much I was letting this weigh on me until now. I feel like a huge weight has been lifted off my shoulders, even though a new one is settling very quickly. Writing everything out like this is truly so freaking helpful for me to process how I'm feeling and what I need to do. I don't know if I'll keep doing formal updates, but for anyone who is interested, maybe I'll just treat this profile like a little journal as this all unfolds. Thank you again to everyone for all your advice and for showing me that I'm not crazy. Comments. Commenter 1. NT, I'm glad you are not going through with the wedding. Also very smart of you to record your conversation with Nate. Please follow your attorney's instruction. I hope you can move home with your mom or go live with your sister. Kayla is crazy and you need to put security cameras up for your protection. It might be better for you to move out of state to have primary and hopefully 100% custody of your daughter. Revoke the release of medical information. Lock down your medical records with a password since Nate knows your date of birth and probably your social security number. I'm proud of you. Commenter 2. Lock down credit also since anything Nate knows Kayla knows and I wouldn't be surprised if she tried further identity theft. Reply, not something I would ever think of. Luckily our finances are mostly split still, but he does know my social. Just another thing to add to my to-do list for tomorrow. Commenter 3. I know this is really overwhelming, but I would also encourage changing passwords to your email and banking or anything specific that Nate could have access to and therefore Kayla could have access to. Consider getting a new credit card issued as well. She's unstable enough from what you've shared that I wouldn't want her to create even more chaos for you. Wishing you all the best and I'm so sorry that this is happening. Commenter 4. Wow, if Nate reads this, your sister just wished your baby dead. I bet you'll comfort her for saying it. Commenter 5. I hope her statement gives some weight to your argument that she shouldn't have contact with the baby and that Nate isn't responsible, coherent, and so many other words I want to say that will get me trouble, enough to care for a child. I can't wait to read an update a while from now where you're thriving and so is the baby, OP. Commenter 6. I put comment on another comment as well and am adding it here also because I believe Carla is very mentally unstable and I feel OP and possibly her child could be in danger and she needs to talk to her attorney and make plans now to prevent Carla having any access to the baby even if her brother is present. Reading your update I literally felt sick for you. But then by the end I felt like this is a gift from God that you find out the truth about your fiancé and his sister before you are legally bound to him. Before you give birth, you should talk to your lawyer about this, but I think if you are in the US, if you put him down as the dad on the birth certificate, that gives him the ability to file for custody. Even if he wants 50/50ths or less, this means 50% of time your baby will likely be being cared for by Carla and your brother or just Carla. So I hope you talk to your lawyer and get a restraining order against Carla and bar her from being in your presence or the presence of your child. She truly is stark raving mad. Convincing your fiancé to tell her the sex of your child before you the mother knows. Can you imagine how many other ways she will overstep with your baby? The fool might try to nurse your baby, you know, because she hasn't gotten to experience that, and your idiot BF prob would go along with it and not see any issue. Wherever you plan to give birth, you need to make sure Carla is barred from entering your room, talking to staff about you or the baby, or interacting with the baby. I cannot stress this enough, she is unstable, maybe psychotic, she knows no boundaries, and you are about to give birth to a child that is one half her brother, and she most certainly will lose her mind when you establish hard boundaries, which you need to do now. You need to make sure your lawyer arranges it so that when your BF has the child that Carla cannot be present. She is a danger to your marriage and maybe to you and your child. When she learns she won't have unfettered access to her baby, kid, she obviously thinks she has more right to it, to the baby, than you, the mother. To convince her brother to go behind your back and find out the sex for her, she could attack you physically and try to harm you or your unborn child. She could be insane enough to try to cut the baby out of you. I am not trying to scare you or be melodramatic, but I want you to understand she is mentally unstable. People who are unstable are unpredictable, and it is no telling what she is capable of once triggered and once the realization sinks in that her unfettered access to your life is over. You haven't been in a relationship with your fiancé this entire relationship. You've been in a relationship with a composite, your fiancé and Carla. Every single aspect of your relationship has been affected by Carla and what Carla wants for her life. It is like she is living vicariously through you and planning to marry her own brother. She will never have a relationship because she doesn't have enough room in her heart for anyone but her brother. Stories number 2. I'm 24F, thinking of leaving my husband, 30M, after 4 years of marriage. He doesn't contribute to chores around the house, and plays games for hours every day. I have to remind him to do basic things like shower, chores, etc. I've told him multiple times that I don't want to parent him, and he'll do better for a day or two and then go right back to it. He only has 2 chores: dishes and trash. And we have a dishwasher. The problem is that he's neglected them for so long that we now have a fruit fly infestation and have to call pest control to come deal with it. I know I should have done something before it got this bad, but he kept reassuring me it would get done. He's also incredibly impulsive and spends money he knows we don't have. I'm between jobs at the moment, and won't have any pay until July. I've also tried to communicate about this, but he shuts down when I try to talk to him about things that bother me. There's some other reasons, but these are the big ones. They've only recently become an issue in the last year or two. He's likely got undiagnosed ADHD. I can see the symptoms and know that these problems are an issue because of the ADHD. I also have ADHD, and use coping strategies to deal with it. I've suggested coping strategies for him, but he says it won't work and won't even try. Him shutting down when I try to communicate with him means that I can't talk to him. He refuses to talk to me until I bottle it all up and explode, which he claims reinforces him not talking to me. I've suggested marriage counseling, which he claims we don't need. I do love him, a lot. But these problems are weighing me down so much that I feel depressed over it. I blew up again today, and called him lazy and basically told him he wasn't allowed to play games until he finished his chores and the flies were taken care of. Which makes me feel like I'm parenting him again. I don't want to leave him, but I'm not sure what else to do at this point. What would you guys suggest? TLDR, my husband makes me parent him and won't talk to me about our problems, and also refuses any professional help. Comments. Commenter 1. Having ADHD is not an excuse for this behavior. I have combined but primarily inattentive ADHD and I can't be medicated due to long QT syndrome, but I am still accountable for my actions. I work hard every damn day to function. Am I exhausted? Yes. Do I feel like giving up some days? Yes, but I have a responsibility to keep shared space clean, tidy and livable alongside my husband and child. The same for your husband, he too is accountable for his actions and has responsibilities. Commenter 2, thank you for this comment. Way too many people on Reddit are willing to excuse all sorts of shit because of ADD/ADHD. I have 2 adult sons, one's ADD, and the other ADHD. Both have their own homes, one has a good paying job, and the other owns his own business. They both cook, clean, and do their own laundry, etc. Commenter 3, he's not just lazy, he's self-indulgent and childish. And apparently he really doesn't care that his home is infested with fruit flies. Sounds like he's using ADHD as an excuse, especially since he won't try any of the coping mechanisms you suggest. He just wants to sit and play games. I would leave him too. Find someone who wants to be a real partner. I mean, Jesus, not dealing with garbage until there's a fruit fly infestation. He can't get the trash out of your home because the game is so very important. How long does it take to take the garbage out? Update. So I guess things are going to go for the better. In my last post, I broke down some of my husband's behavior and how it's likely linked to undiagnosed ADHD. Several people suggested leaving him. Some things I left out of my last post that now seem relevant. I am disabled and often use a wheelchair or cane to manage my symptoms. I have a hard time bathing and dressing myself. I am occasionally reliant on the help of others. Part of why he neglects himself and chores is because he works a full-time job and has to help me. These weren't issues until my health began to deteriorate. Some of his behavior is rooted in PTSD from a highly abusive relationship. I packed a suitcase and was getting ready to leave and stay with family when my husband came home. He saw the suitcase, asked what was going on, and we had an actual conversation. No avoidance or shutting down. He apologized, said he understood, and that he'd like a chance to fix things. He set alarms on his phone to remind himself to do chores, etc. He Googled ways to manage ADHD without medication and called his doctor to set up an appointment to talk about getting evaluated for ADHD and PTSD. He called our church to set up some marriage counseling. And he started cleaning without me asking. All things he hadn't done before, even when I begged. I think seeing the suitcase and realizing that I was really planning on leaving helped. Maybe I'm wrong and this is just his attempt before it gets worse again, but I think he's actually trying this time. Am I wrong to be hopeful here? TLDR, my husband seems to be making efforts to mend our marriage, but I'm not sure it'll last. ETA, I didn't add my disabled status to the first post for a few reasons. 1. I just don't like talking about it. My disability is nobody's business. 2. He only helps me for about 15 or maybe 30 minutes a day, and they're low-effort tasks as well. 3. I didn't think I deserved less effort in a relationship because I'm disabled. Unfortunately, some of you seem to think I do deserve less. Comments. Commenter 1. The disabled part is huge and changes the entire story. My dad had to care for my mom and 4 kids under 18, and then all of us had to help care for my mom because she got early onset Parkinson's disease. Our house was a pit. Nobody has energy to go to work 40 hours a week or go to school for 30 hours a week and care for another person. All any of us did, when things got really bad, was pray she'd fall asleep so we could also sleep or watch TV. Caring for someone is a full-time job, and I'm not sure what country you live in, but most places make it so that in-home care and assisted living are beyond our reach. It's not a person's fault, it's society's fault for not being set up to support us. If he works at a job and as a caregiver, I'd cut him some slack. Commenter 2. You're repeatedly saying that he doesn't have to do that much as a caregiver, and I really think you need to stop saying that. A large part of caregiving is mental and emotional. I've been a caregiver for years and it consumes a huge amount of thinking. Not just about now, but about later. Even if your disability isn't progressive, he's likely constantly thinking about what will happen if he gets injured or sick, or if you get a different problem on top of yours. Caregiving changes how you see the world, and it's a huge added stress. Everything you've written is incredibly dismissive of his side of caregiving, and if you continue on that track you're likely to damage your relationship. Commenter 3. So if he's struggling with unmedicated ADHD and PTSD, and full-time work, and caring for his disabled wife, don't you realize he was already really struggling and now you put a whole load more stuff on his plate for him to crumble under? You have to ask. What does he get in return? Is there any enjoyment in his life, if all he has are these pressures? I read your post and feel that you got what you wanted and he got even less than he had. I could be wrong, but that's how it seems to me. If you do decide to stay with him, you gotta make sure it's also worth it for him. An equitable partnership. Reply, he gets home-cooked meals, dates, love, etc. I do 95% of the housework, and the few things that are his responsibility are things he decided would be his responsibility. He gets time to play games, as I'm not against them entirely. He spends time out with friends when he wants, doing basically whatever he wants to do. He gets a lot in return from our relationship. It's never 50-50ths. Some days are 80-20ths, but who's giving the 80 changes? I support him through whatever dreams and aspirations he has, which change almost daily. I have good and bad days, which means there are plenty of days that I don't seem disabled at all and don't need help. Assuming I'm the villain because I'm disabled and didn't feel like telling a bunch of strangers all about my medical issues is entitled and inherently ableist. Commenter 4. Nobody is assuming you are the villain because you are disabled. They feel you were dishonest because you left out a major part of the story of your lives together. You came onto Reddit to ask for help but left out crucial information and are being very defensive. Take a breath before answering a comment. It's okay to feel upset, but being defensive won't help. You've asked the hive mind of Reddit for help but then hindered us helping you by not providing all the facts. I live with chronic pain and mental health issues, I get it, we are often vilified for just existing. It can be hard. It's also very vulnerable to open up about these things. However, how can you expect to get good advice when you leave out such important information? That's why people are saying they don't think you actually want help. Maybe sit with that for a bit. It's okay to be uncomfortable or upset at the comments, but being defensive will only leave you in the same, miserable place you are in now. Stories number 3. I brought my sister to a barbecue with our close friends and their husband crossed a line. I, 27F, Italian, live in Italy with my fiancé, 35M, German. A few months ago, we became close friends with a couple in their 40s. The wife is also Italian, and the husband is from New Zealand. They moved here about 5 years ago with their 2 boys. They always came across as the perfect family, grounded, warm, fun to be around. We'd have poker nights, play volleyball, and they often invited us over for barbecues. We genuinely trusted them and enjoyed spending time together, so when they invited us for another barbecue, I brought my 19-year-old sister along. She was visiting me, and it felt totally safe to include her. We were going to see people we considered good friends. The evening was like usual: food, drinks, music, good vibes. But later that night, after we got home, my fiancé told me something that had unsettled him. He'd noticed the husband standing very close to my sister, his hand too low on her back. At first, he wasn't sure what he saw. Maybe it was nothing. But then he saw it happen again. Let me be clear, we were all very drunk. When we arrived back home, something was off. My fiancé was asking my sister if something had happened. She hesitated for a moment, and then just broke down in tears. She admitted the husband had touched her inappropriately. Twice. She'd gotten up to get a glass of water because she felt uncomfortable, but when she came back, it happened again. I was absolutely heartbroken. Shocked. Frozen. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. What hurt even more was that my sister felt guilty. She said she didn't want to ruin our night or break our friendship with them. As if she had done something wrong. Watching her cry like that and blame herself shattered me. The man we trusted, someone we welcomed into our lives, violated that trust in such a disgusting way. And it's complicated, because his wife is a kind, sweet woman, and their kids are innocent in all this. They don't deserve the fallout, but at the same time, this can't just be swept under the rug. So my fiancé is going to confront him alone and calmly. Not to create drama, but to make it crystal clear: we saw what he did, and it's not okay. He doesn't get to walk away from this as if nothing happened. We're not trying to destroy anyone's family, but we're not protecting a predator either. This man is not who we thought he was. We'll never look at him the same again. This whole thing has changed the way I look at people. Even those who seem decent on the outside. Sometimes it only takes one moment to see what's really behind the mask. I have to say, I am so disappointed and I feel like shit, as if I did not protect my sister. It's really shocking. You can't trust nobody nowadays. Has anyone had a similar situation? Relevant comments. Commenter 1. It's not your fault. How could you have known? But you should tell his wife. Reply. I am considering to do so. But I also just want to distance ourselves completely from this family. I am fully disgusted by this. As if I let me guard down. Commenter 2. The wife needs to know. You are only protecting this man. Shame him. And it is you and your sister who should be. All go, and it will be a lesson for everyone. Reply. Currently my fiancé and I are still processing everything. We really feel sick to the stomach, and we are trying to think carefully our next move on how we are going to address it. What confuses me: the wife was there. What if she noticed something but decided not to comment on it, or act clueless? What if I make the situation harder on my sister? It is very complicated. It's such a delicate matter, and I understand what you are saying. As much as I want to make a scene and lash out, I am thinking if what is best for my sister, and honestly this whole thing has traumatized her and I don't want her to even be near this person and make things worse. Commenter 3. My 24F partner, 27M, have been together for almost 9 years at the end of this year. From the beginning he was friends with this girl, had known since elementary school, and she ended up getting married to her high school sweetheart maybe 4 years or so into us dating. We went to their wedding and everything. A few years into their marriage my partner gets a call from his friend, and she asks if I had ever sent her husband nudes. I was in the car when she called and I was just stunned because I had no idea what she was talking about. I was in no way into her husband and never thought of him that way. I found out he had colluded with another, male, friend of ours to take my phone at their parties and send himself my nudes without me knowing. He'd delete the chat history on my end so I couldn't see what he'd done. Then later he'd send it to our other friend where they'd save it to whatever external thing they had, I guess, not too sure. But all of this was happening under my nose for God knows how long, probably years. My partner and I never suspected him, and it body slammed us both when we found out. We haven't made any new male friends and don't really plan to, because stuff like that has happened so many times throughout our relationship that it's just too much of a risk. I know my experience isn't quite like yours, but I'm sorry for what happened to your sister and don't really have good advice except just try to be diligent and keep your eyes open. It's often the people you'd least suspect, unfortunately. Reply. Thank you for sharing your story. That seems awful. I can't even imagine the disgust and shock you must have felt. It is so true, the people that you least expect are the ones you actually need to keep a close eye on. You see, this is what makes me feel sick to my stomach. You see this family and you even look up to them. Because their life seems to be going AO good for them. Loving couple, smart as well. And honestly even their relationship with their kids seem to be very healthy, as they are young like 12 to 13 years old but so grounded, smart and well-spoken. You wouldn't even suspect a thing for them being mistreated or even having bad parents. This is what fucks up with my thought process. I'm like, why, how can this happen? Why did I let my guard down? I've always been somebody very cautious of older men being inappropriate. I've been sexually harassed back in my time of university from my professors, even been touched inappropriately by my mentor when I was 17 to 18. Who I trusted and thought was a good person. The thing is I've always been the type of person that never wanted to cause drama and would stay quiet. Even if it killed me internally. I hate this about myself. So with my sister, I have been so protective and vocal about how disgusting men can be. And she tells me every fucking thing that goes on in her life. And the fact that I did not protect her from something like this, it feels like I even brought her in the danger zone without knowing. It's so heartbreaking really. Update. Hi everyone. This is a follow-up to the experience I shared a few days ago about the barbecue where my younger, 19, sister was touched inappropriately by someone we considered a close friend. After sitting with it for a few days, and after reading all the comments that we must tell the wife, we decided to have a serious talk with my sister if whether she is comfortable enough for us to confront them both. I have to say we have been experiencing a lot of anger and negativity, mean comments by her said out loud, how disgusted she is feeling and etc. and so on. It's been tough for me to deal with all this, especially as I am responsible of her and I was supposed to protect her from these things. I know that this anger and lashing out is her way of dealing with the situation and I understand her completely, still very hard and it hurts. We made the decision to just create a group chat with them both, husband and wife, and explain everything exactly what happened. In the message, we described what happened, how deeply it affected my sister, and how we all felt completely betrayed by someone we trusted. My fiancé witnessed it too but wasn't sure until my sister confirmed it. So they can't say that my sister is making this whole thing up because it was witnessed. We didn't ask for anything from them. We simply stated the truth. My sister made it clear that the only form of justice she felt she had was us exposing what happened to both of them, so that they have to carry that weight. She didn't want to stay silent so I admire her for that. The wife was the only one that responded privately. She said that she was sorry for what has happened and sorry that my sister was uncomfortable but quickly shifted the tone making it seem that we are making it more than a big deal it actually is and in her personal opinion we don't have to end everything because of this. She also said that she is sure that her husband will get back to my fiancé and respond in his own words. She ended it with, "Best of luck. Goodbye." No real apology, no ownership, no accountability. Just a huge wall to the whole thing. But here's the part that makes me wonder even more, they never reached out after that night. Normally, they'd follow up inviting us for drinks, it was part of our regular rhythm. But this time? Silence. Honestly, I think she already knew something. So, this has been a painful process, but one thing I know, we protected my sister, and we didn't allow this to be buried. That alone gives us peace. What happens now to them, I'm pretty sure they will continue together and act as if this has never happened and she will protect her husband no matter what, typical. Final comments. Commenter 1. I feel your pain, it's really messed up what those pricks did, but hey, at least your sis found some closure by making them squirm. I'm sure they'll regret not owning up and apologizing properly, karma's a real bitch like that. Reply. I still think that the wife is a victim in this too though. It's a sad reality to find out that your partner of all years is an untrustworthy piece of shit. It's a complicated matter. But my priority is my sister and her alone. Stories number 4. Aita for refusing to babysit my niece after my SIL called me, just a receptionist. I 28F work full-time as a receptionist at a dental office. I enjoy my job, it pays decently, I have benefits, and my coworkers are great. I'm also studying part-time to get certified in medical billing. My brother 31M is married to Kelsey 30F. They have a 3-year-old daughter and I have babysat her a few times, usually on weekends or when they have something going on. I have never asked for payment, I did it because it's family. Last week, we were all at my parents' house for dinner. I mentioned how one of the patients brought me cookies and thanked me for being kind during their nervous appointment. Kelsey goes, "Well yeah, I mean, it's not like your job is hard. You just sit and answer phones all day." I laughed a bit thinking she was joking, but she continued, "No offense, I just think it's weird when people act like receptionists have careers. It's not really real work." I was stunned. My mom even looked uncomfortable, and my brother awkwardly changed the subject. Kelsey didn't apologize or even notice she had upset me. A few days later, she texted me asking if I could babysit on Saturday so she and my brother could go to a wedding. I replied, "Sorry, I'm just a receptionist. I probably wouldn't know how to handle something as important as watching your daughter. She sent me a long message calling me petty and immature, saying I was punishing her child over a comment taken out of context. My brother hasn't said much, but he asked if I could just let it go. My mom thinks I made my point, but says I should have been the bigger person. I'm not even mad anymore, I just don't feel like doing her any favors. AITH. Stories number 5. AITA for not cooking breakfast for my niece and nephew. My 36 sister, 34 moved into my house about 2 months ago with her 2 kids, 7 after she ended a really bad relationship. I've always been an early-ish riser and like to get up and make myself some breakfast around 7 or 8 a.m. Nothing spectacular, just whatever I felt like that day. When my sister moved in, I realized quickly that she liked to sleep in. Some days she was up as late as 1 p.m., I gave her the benefit of the doubt since I knew how hard her breakup was for her. Since my sister slept so late daily, she wouldn't get up and take care of her kids. I got into a routine with my niece and nephew that basically whatever I cooked myself for breakfast, I'd make enough for them as well until the other morning. I woke up and had an urge to make huevos rancheros. The kids immediately started complaining that they didn't want that and wanted something different. I was nice and ended up making them pancakes since it's not their fault that their mom is really struggling. The next morning, I was making breakfast potatoes and eggs, but all I heard was, "We don't want that. We want something different," so again, I obliged. Finally, after 3 mornings of my unwanted food critics getting a separate meal, I finally told them I'm no longer cooking 2 different meals for breakfast. If you don't like what I'm making, go ask your mom to get up and do it. So, they went upstairs to wake her up, but she still didn't come downstairs until after 1 p.m. The kids immediately started complaining that I refused to feed them, and my sister was pissed. She started in about how they need to be fed by a certain time and a bunch of other things that she said to try and intentionally hurt me. I snapped and told her, "Look, I know you're depressed, but wake up and take care of your ***ing kids instead of expecting me to do it." She got quiet after that and is still giving me the cold shoulder, but I know she's expecting me to apologize. Sorry this was long-winded, but let me have it. Stories number 6. Entitled Mom Wants to Eat Our Wedding Cake Top. We're coming up on our M28 first wedding anniversary. It falls on a Monday this year. My mom approached me recently and told me that we could cut into our wedding cake top with the whole family the day before our anniversary, because she wants to be a part of our anniversary celebration and the weekend is more convenient for everyone. I was planning to cut the cake with my wife only on our actual anniversary. The cake top is in my mom's freezer as she has a full-size freezer in her garage and we only have a small apartment-sized half freezer. Of course, I doubt the cake will be as good as the day we had it, but it's more so for the symbolism of our anniversary. For my parents' anniversaries we've never been a part of it. They go on trips without us and have never asked us to join them, so I'm a bit frustrated at this double standard. My wife and I would not mind sharing the cake with them after our anniversary, but from talking with my mom it sounds like she wants us to make it into a family thing. Is that even normal? My mom also caused a lot of unnecessary drama and stress surrounding our wedding last year in that she wanted to forego hair and makeup my wife had arranged for and we covered the cost of and would laugh condescendingly at us when we would try to express our viewpoints on why these things were important to us. She also tried to invite a bunch of people even though she was not paying for anything. So from that experience leading up to our wedding I learned that she lacks respect for myself as an adult, my wife, and our marriage. My wife and I thought the best way to resolve this is to perform a cake heist, as I don't want to risk giving my mom a heads up and allowing something to happen. I'm not sure if she would eat it directly out of spite, but I also wouldn't put it past her. What is everyone's thoughts on a cake heist? Just going over there unannounced to secure the cake. Stories number 7. Aita for skipping my sister's wedding because I felt like a guest, not family. I, 27F, didn't go to my sister's, 29F, wedding last weekend, and now my entire family is furious with me. I didn't plan it this way, I had every intention of being there, but the months leading up to it left me feeling like I wasn't wanted. Ever since my sister got engaged, I've tried to be involved. I offered to help with planning, with dress shopping, with organizing the bridal shower. I was met with polite excuses each time, "Oh, we already have that covered," or "It's just easier with fewer people." I wasn't asked to be a bridesmaid, even though we're only 2 years apart and have always been close. Instead, she picked her college friends and even her fiancé's cousin. I didn't say anything. I told myself not to make it about me, but when the invitations went out and mine had +1 not included written in pen, despite my long-term boyfriend being with me for 4 years and accepted by the whole family, I felt like I was being excluded deliberately. The final straw was at the rehearsal dinner. Yes, I still showed up for that. I sat at a table in the back with distant relatives while everyone else laughed and toasted each other up front. My sister barely spoke to me the whole night. I left early and cried in the car. The next morning, I texted her that I wasn't feeling well and wouldn't be attending the wedding. I didn't want to make a scene. I just couldn't sit through a day where I felt like a prop in the background of her perfect picture. Now my parents are calling me selfish, saying I embarrassed the family. My sister hasn't spoken to me since. I didn't mean to hurt anyone, I just couldn't take pretending I felt included when I so clearly wasn't. Stories number 8. Aita for refusing to let my ex-husband's wife homeschool my children. I, 31F, share 2 children, 9M and 8F, with my ex-husband Aaron, 35M. Aaron's cheating ended our marriage, and before long he had moved in with Nicole, 34F, and her children, 11, 10, 8 and 6. Aaron and Nicole have a 2-year-old together and they're expecting another child. Even before Aaron and Nicole met, she homeschooled her children. While my kids attend public school. This was mentioned as a problem before they were even married, but I ignored them. Now this has come up again and they are being a thorn in my side about it. Nicole said it is unfair for her children to see mine go to school while hers do not. She told me her kids have become jealous and it's causing issues for her parenting and for her and Aaron's family. I told her this was not my problem and she needed to figure out how to manage that. As that is the life of blended families. Not everything will be the same or equal for the kids from different marriages. Aaron asked me to homeschool a few times and I told him I would not entertain the idea. He even asked the kids who were worried when they came to me about it. They didn't want to leave their friends and teachers and they didn't want to stay home all day like Nicole's kids. I reassured them I would not be saying yes to homeschooling for them. Now Nicole and Aaron are on a mission to make me agree to Nicole homeschooling my kids alongside hers. Apparently they have the 2-year-old started into some form of pre-K homeschooling and they feel it's only fair for my kids to join in too. I said no. I even had my lawyer send their lawyer a letter officially stating my position on this. My lawyer has also documented everything. They asked their lawyer to take this back to court and get a judge to overrule me, but their lawyer told them this would not go in their favor. My ex was so unhappy about it that he told me all of this and it gave me the chance to document that also. Now they're claiming I don't have a good reason to refuse other than to disrupt their home and to keep Nicole from playing a bigger role in the lives of my children. And to prevent sibling bonding between Nicole's kids and mine. I told them I have many reasons to say no and they just need to accept it. I stopped replying after this, but since school ended for the summer I have been inundated with pressure from them over this. They are worried that I'll send them to school in September as planned. Which will happen. I feel like the kids wanting to go to school should also count, and I told Aaron this before, but Aita for not being willing to try. Is it really so hard to believe I just want my kids to attend school normally? Stories number 9. My new manager is someone I slept with years ago, and he doesn't know we have a child. I went back to university in my late 20s to do my PhD, and shared an office with a few other students for many years. One of the students, Jacob, completed his thesis and was moving back to his home country, so we all went out for congratulatory/farewell drinks. One thing led to another and Jacob and I spent the night together. A few weeks later, I realized I was pregnant and I had no way to contact Jacob. His university email and mobile number had been deactivated since he'd left the university and the country. I didn't need anything from him and was fine to raise the child alone, but I thought he had a right to know. I googled him a few times over the years but never found him. This last week, our department had emailed everyone to introduce and welcome our new manager, Jacob, with a photo and a blurb about his education and work history, so I know for sure it's him. The night we spent together changed my life because it made me a parent, so I have thought about Jacob from time to time when my daughter asks about her dad or I notice a genetic trait she didn't get from me. However, I doubt Jacob has given that night a second thought. I have no idea whether he will have any concerns about being my manager given our history, or whether I'm making a bigger deal of this than I should. For what it's worth, in my years of sharing an office with Jacob, he seemed easygoing and practical. In our company, it is common for everyone in the department to reply all to these introduction emails and introduce themselves, welcome the newcomer aboard and explain how their role will interact with theirs. I'm not sure if my email should note that Jacob and I studied together years ago as a way to get that out in the open. Or should I email him individually and offer to have a discussion about keeping our history out of the workplace if he thinks it's needed? I'd appreciate any suggestions for language that indicates I'm not concerned and will be completely professional. And then, in direct contradiction to that, I'd also appreciate a script for a separate email saying, can we please meet outside of work because I need to tell you something important about our history, so I can tell him about his daughter. If you or any commenters think I shouldn't tell him, or I should let him settle into his new country and new job first, I would definitely take that on board. Thanks for your comment at the top, Allison. The extent to which I tried to find Jacob wasn't relevant to my question, so I didn't include the efforts I went to. For the commenters who are curious, understandably, I really did try when I first found out I was pregnant. I asked the other people we shared an office with, but no one had any information. We were students who shared an office and sometimes went to the uni bar together, we never spent any time together outside of uni. I asked Jacob's thesis supervisor, but it was Christmas/Australian summer here, so he was on leave for 2 months. When he got back, he gave me the address on Jacob's file, which was of course the Australian address he didn't live at anymore. The uni had a next of kin Australian contact number on file for his aunt, but no one ever answered it when I rang. Jacob is Chinese with a very common surname, and Jacob is just the name he used in my country. I don't know his actual given name. So attempts to find the correct Mr. Wong, in a country where they don't use Google or Facebook, went nowhere. I searched for recent publications about Jacob's thesis topic and found a paper with Jacob Wong as one of the authors. I contacted the corresponding author and asked for Jacob's email, but they never responded. By this point, I had to give up because I was so sick with hyperemesis gravidarum and needed to focus on my baby's health. Update 1. Thank you for answering my letter. You were right, it was a really big deal. I was viewing the Jacob as my manager problem from his perspective, until I told him otherwise. It was just a simple one-night stand over a decade ago, and it didn't seem like a huge problem. I hated and appreciated the reality check. I regret reading the comments, but thank you also for moderating them as quickly as you did. A lot happened in a short space of time. Thankfully I already had a therapist. First, I spoke to my union rep who said, say nothing but call us if HR tries to set up a meeting with you. Staying silent and having Jacob independently declare the prior relationship when he arrived would have been problematic because I'd still end up in the same position and I would have lied by omission. Our HR team can be gossipy and they know the age of my half-Chinese daughter, so I needed to have as much control as possible over the disclosure. I spoke to an employment lawyer who reviewed our policies and, at his suggestion, I wrote an email to HR declaring a prior relationship with Jacob, and then I was immediately pushed out. Even if you have all the legal support in the world, you can't prevent someone from doing something illegal, you just have recourse afterwards. In a meeting with my lawyer, the union rep, HR, and a member of the senior management team, I was asked to resign. When I said no, they insisted on a statutory declaration about the relationship with Jacob stating what happened, when it happened, how many times it happened, and who initiated it. I also said no to that. We ended the meeting with each side agreeing to think about possible solutions. The company's solution was to start messing with my pay, my benefits, my swipe card access to my office, my computer login, and my email/calendar account. They spread rumors about me and I heard coworkers whispering that I'd had an affair with a manager. They sent me for a random drug test at a time when I was scheduled for an important meeting with clients. They canceled accommodation that had been booked for upcoming travel, which I only found out about because I was getting paranoid and called the hotel. I can't describe how awful it feels to know that someone with this kind of power over your job is devoting their time and energy to thinking of ways to screw with you. Every day I was going into work wondering what was waiting for me and it was wearing me down fast. The advice from the union rep was to go back in time and follow their first piece of advice, or just keep documenting everything as we prepared to take legal action. The lawyer estimated that it would take at least a year to get any kind of resolution, and I didn't even want the job anymore. By this point, I wasn't sleeping much and I had cried a few times at work. I was beginning to crack and we were only just getting started, so, I resigned. I wish I'd held up better under the pressure, but it was all just too much with the looming deadline of Jacob's start date at our office, and whatever way HR was going to drag him into this. I'm lucky that I can take my time looking for a new job, so I've had some space to process everything. Outside of the work stuff, I spoke with a family lawyer who outlined all the possible ways this situation could go, and what the most likely outcomes were. Basically, my daughter is old enough that what she wants would get heavily weighted by a court if it came to that. I have spoken to my daughter many times about her father. I told her what I knew about him and that I had tried to contact him. I've offered for her to see a therapist if she ever wanted to talk about it with someone who wasn't me, and she has always said, thanks, but no thanks. The family lawyer helped me write a letter which I left for Jacob. I told him about his daughter, said I wasn't trying to get anything from him, and gave him the contact details of my lawyer. After a few weeks, of me freaking out that HR had somehow intercepted the letter, he emailed my lawyer. He was the easygoing and practical Jacob I remembered. He was still processing it but said he wasn't going to take any legal steps. He offered us his family medical history, he apologized if I resigned because of him, and he said he would like to meet our daughter if she's interested. She also has some siblings. I told her all this. She said she's happy that she has her father's contact info but she doesn't want to meet him right now. She's of the view that having him in our lives would cause unwanted disruption. And she doesn't even know about the work cluster fudge. Update 2. My daughter changed her mind and has been in contact with Jacob. It's still a bit awkward between them, but they have some hobbies in common, which they've bonded over. My daughter also seems very excited to have some siblings who adore their cool new big sister. I know some people were wondering why my old company reacted the way they did. For reasons I can't go into, my work gets scrutinized by outside authorities and my manager's role is primarily a quality control one. Any suggestion that my manager had not checked my work impartially enough due to a personal relationship could have been career-ending for both of us. Additionally, the work I do is in a very specialist field and there are only a handful of people in the country who do it. Another company in a similar field had initially approached Jacob, who has had an amazing career by the sounds of it, to start a new department at their company doing the same thing. My old company paid a buttload of money to lure him over so that he wouldn't be in direct competition for clients and employees. All of this meant that I couldn't report to Jacob, there was no other manager I could report to, and the company couldn't risk him going back to their competitor. Between the two of us, Jacob was the better asset to keep and the worse threat to lose. I'm not excusing the behavior of my old company, but there was a logic to it. I'm still angry about the way they treated me and how helpless I felt, but that is slowly fading over time. I had trouble finding a new job. Financially, we were okay, so I was being picky, e.g. wanting to stay in my current city. After almost a year out of work, Jacob told me he'd been approached by the first company who still wanted him to start their new department. He was happy at my old company, but he offered to take the new role if I wanted to try to get my old job back. I would never ask him to do that, and I also never want to go anywhere near that company again, so I said no. Jacob turned the other company down but gave them my name. It's a step up from where I was, but they interviewed me and I got the job. I've been here about 6 months and it's enjoyable so far, plus I've never procreated with anyone in my chain of command, so it seems like a good place to work. I've hired one of my former coworkers, plus 2 recent graduates from my alma mater who are bright, motivated and quickly getting up to speed. Unlike my old company, we don't have a lengthy wait list for our services, yet, so a few clients have started coming to us instead of them. I am delighted that I am becoming the very threat my old company was trying to avoid when they pushed me out. Stories number 10. I cried walking home after my hairstylist berated me. I 31F have been going to the same hairstylist for about a year now. Note, I'm 31 but I'm very small, with braces and mostly PLLP think I'm 19. My hairstylist prices have become ridiculously expensive and I haven't been able to go every 2 months but only twice this year so far. My first appointment this year she was kinda snippy, kept correcting my speech, I have braces and I'm working on getting my words out better, and the vibes were just kind of weird. I went back to her because she does good work and I take meds due to a tumor and the meds make my hair fall out in the front middle of my head and she's been helping with that. I went to get my hair done recently and she scolded me about not coming every month, told me I was asking dumb questions, reminded me how bald I was and told me it was stupid to have inspo pics because I have very little hair and kept telling me how she's done with clients that act like me. I'm on time, polite and I tip well. I just sat there quietly and didn't say a word after that. She wrapped up the appointment with a smile, small convo about summer plans and then sent me on a way. I could barely get a goodbye out because I was holding back tears. I left and walked halfway home before my husband picked me up. I was in tears and really disappointed that I didn't leave in the middle of the service or at least ask her to not speak to me that way because all I did was show her a inspo pic and ask if we could achieve it in my next appointment. I was so embarrassed to tell my husband I allowed that and still paid for the service. Years of therapy and I'm still finding my voice and learning how to stand up for myself. I just wish it was easier. I wish I didn't allow others to treat me like shit and most of all I wish I had the voice to speak up. Stories number 11. Aita for telling my parents that I am not their son and they need to let go. My parents had 4 kids before me, 19M. My older brother and 3 older sisters. My older brother died when he was 14, before I was born. His death was what sparked my parents to have me. They were lost to grief and tried to rebirth him through me, aka had another kid and wanted to make the baby, me, my brother. My sisters were all old enough to remember our brother, to know what our parents were doing and they didn't like it. I look so much like him except for our eyes. He had brown eyes while I have blue eyes. That's the only noticeable physical difference. But it brought out even more of the worst in my parents. There were times they were very loving and all about me. But once the illusion that I was my brother was shattered, they were distant and cold. My sisters were just cold. They told me I would never be their brother and I wasn't our brother. Even though I already knew that and never thought I was him, there was a lot of anger, resentment and rage aimed at me because they hated that our parents tried to replace him. Questions were asked in school about my name, the way I dressed and the way my hair was done and stuff. Because my parents named me after him and they put me in his old clothes and made me keep my hair a certain length until at 13 I went and I shaved it all off to try and become me, not him. My sisters were all moved out at that point and only came to visit our parents. My parents never acknowledged the resentment or the rejection of my sisters to me. Whenever I tried to mention it they would shut down because that was so unlike my brother. I had educational neglect too. I have 2 learning disabilities but my brother never had any, so I wasn't allowed to and I never got very far in school. I had to keep friends away from my house too because it was too much of a mind fuck, and when I was younger birthday parties were a big issue because my parents' obvious grief and poor mental health meant it would be awkward around the parents and adults present. It left me answering a lot of questions. There were times my parents were faced with being told I wasn't my brother and I was their youngest son, but anyone who tried gave us and basically walked out of their lives. It was mostly their friends I remember and never extended family. I don't even know if there is extended family or if they came from big or small families. The last few years I lived at home were the worst for them, flip-flopping. They could go months of thinking I was him and then months of ignoring me and shutting me out and doing nothing for me. During lockdown in particular it was bad. When I turned 18 my girlfriend's parents let me move in and that's where I've been ever since. I didn't speak to my parents for over a year. But I did reach out to my sisters and they made it clear that where they stood was not wanting me in their lives and not seeing me as their brother. That's something I'm still working on making peace with. As much as it might hurt, I don't blame them. I'm not even sure if I blame my parents, but a part of me does, I think. My parents left a long cycle of wanting nothing to do with me and reached out a bunch of times wanting me to come home and asking why I left without saying anything and telling me they need their son back. Instead of talking over the phone or texting them back, I went to see them and I told them face to face that I am not their son. I'm not the cast they keep trying to make me. I can never be him. And I don't think a relationship between us would ever be healthy. But they need to let go and accept that I'm not their son. The reason I said it like that is because they never saw me as me, only him. I had to leave right after saying it because they were both in the middle of a meltdown, and a few days later I got a DM from one of my sisters congratulating me on fucking up her parents even more. That wasn't what I wanted to do, but I didn't really know how to handle it. Aita, stories number 12. How can I, tell my sister that she can't name her baby daughter Lolita? My sister, 37F, is not the most well-read person. She gave birth to a baby girl yesterday. She's got 2 boys already and has wanted a girl for a long time. She has just told me that they are naming her Lolita. I don't know how to process this or how to tell her this is not a good, or cute, or edgy name. We don't have the closest relationship, and I'm her older sister and childless by choice. She often thinks I'm boring or a stick in the mud. I worry that anything I say will just be eye-rolled at, or make her stick to the name harder. Some of comments. Does sister know about the name and its connotations? I don't know. But I am making the sweeping assumption that she hasn't read it, or watched the movie, but knows of Lolita fashion. I genuinely don't even know how to bring it up or if I should just leave her to it. Commenter, don't tell her why, just ask her nicely to Google the name, then decide for herself. Reply, the problem is that she's very very proud, and always thinks everyone is judging her, even if they're literally just trying to help her. So even if presented with evidence, she'll either refuse to read it or say that she doesn't care. I've tried to be as kind but clear as I can without sounding judgmental, or like I think she's not smart. Commenter, Lolita is not a name. The name is Maria de los Dolores. Tell your sister the whole Hispanic world OS going to laugh at her. Reply, she named her other kid Tao, pronounced Theo, so I think she doesn't care who laughs at her at this point. Update 1. Hey love, I am so happy and excited for you and the new little one. And I want you to know that I love and support you and that I'll always be there for you. This message isn't meant to shame or hurt you, but I want you to be making as informed a decision as possible. I wasn't aware of all of the history of Lolita myself, so I looked it up and asked some advice of others better read than me. I wanted to share some thoughts on the name, not to tell you what to do, but just to make sure you have all the information. While it's a beautiful sounding name, Lolita carries some really strong and often unpleasant connotations. As I'm sure you're already aware, it's the title and the name of the 12-year-old girl in Nabokov's book and films. The book is about her sexual assault by an older man, and because of this, the name has become synonymous with the sexualization and exploitation of underage girls. In the book she is painted as a 12-year-old seductress, even though, of course at 12 she cannot consent, and were encouraged to sympathize with pedophile. Beyond the book, the term Lolita is, of course, now a category of barely legal pornography. And more recently, Jeffrey Epstein named his private plane the Lolita Express, as if the name needed any further connection to child sex trafficking. I know how much thought you're putting into this, and ultimately, I will love and support you and your baby no matter what name you choose. I just wanted to make sure you were aware of these associations, as they're pretty ingrained in pop culture and beyond. Let me know if you want to talk about it, and if this is your final decision then I will say no more and will support your decision. Folks have reminded me that she'll be hormonal, exhausted and emotional at this point, so I'm not going to send it to her till she's settled back home from hospital. I don't want to overwhelm her with a wall of text, but I think text is the best option so she can read back through it if she needs. I genuinely love and care for her, and if this is a thought-through decision then I will support her in it. I just really want to make sure that she has all the info that she can. She is both hot-headed and strong-willed, so I'm afraid that if I push she'll stick to her choice thorough stubbornness rather than a real love for the name, so any advice on the wording is appreciated. Update 2. I sent her that message and got back gifts that say, "No one asked your opinion," and "I am searching for fucks to give," and was told that she doesn't give two shinies what I think. So, I guess little Lolita is on her own. Sum of comments. Commenter: why is your sister such a stoop and you seem normal? Did you grow up together? How do you get to be a whole 37 years and think Lolita is a good idea? I don't get it. You sure she isn't just f***ing with you? LOL. I keep trying to picture a 6-year-old named Lolita showing up for first grade. Her teachers are going to cringe. Send your sis this thread. LOL. Reply: I was so tempted to send her this thread in anger, but strike while the iron is cold and all that. We had a tough childhood. Interesting. Parents. I've done like 10 years of therapy at this point and she is still in the "you don't need therapy, just go for a run" mindset. Commenter: the fact that you told her all that and she doesn't care. That's disgusting. That poor child. She clearly shouldn't have had kids with that attitude, because how can anyone read that and still want to name their child that? It's disturbing. I would legit not trust her and even stop talking to her. This is kind of a big deal. I'm sorry, that may seem extreme. But how can she be so flippant on something so serious? I'm disgusted. FR. Reply: I'm taking a break from her for a bit, for both of our sanity, but I want to make sure that I'm there for the kids if they ever need an auntie. Stories number 13. I, 38M, found out my wife, 36F, cheated in the beginning of our relationship. TLDR, I found out my wife cheated in the beginning of our relationship because she was not sure if things with me were going to work out with me. I overheard her saying this to her sister. Said she regretted it, after seeing a future with me, and nothing of the kind happened again. Should just try and forget what I heard. My wife and I have been together since 2010, married in 2016. We both work full-time and don't have kids. We've been trying for a while without success, though recent events left me wondering if I really want this with her. We met when we both got into university, me in 2007 and she in 2008. We were friends before we got together. In the end of 2009/start of 2010, she was going through a bad time in her relationship at the time, and I ended up supporting her with a mutual friend of ours. She broke up with her ex, and a few months later, one thing led to another and we ended up kissing, which led to me inviting her on a date, and the rest just happened. We were officially together in 2010, and I couldn't be happier. Our marriage and relationship in general were always pretty good. We've always communicated well, and I never had a reason to suspect my wife was cheating. Last Saturday, there was a barbecue in her brother's house. I got inside to get some stuff in the kitchen. While I was looking inside the fridge, I overheard my wife talking to her sister in the other room. I wasn't trying to snoop on them at first, I really don't do this kind of thing, but then I heard something like, "My name, can never know about this." Well, of course that was my cue to actually snoop. I hid and listened to their talking. Apparently her sister almost cheated on her boyfriend and was feeling guilty, and my wife told her about the time she slept with a guy who was a lab assistant with her at the university. After we started dating, we were exclusive, see Edit 2, in 2010. In her own words, she said, "I wasn't sure things with my name would work out at the time and I just allowed myself to do it. I felt guilty once I saw how much he loved me and treated me well, and I could see a future with him." Then her sister asked if something else happened later in the relationship, and my wife said, "No, it was just that one time and I wish I could forget about it." I haven't talked to her about this yet. I'm not even sure how to approach her. I feel incredibly hurt, and I know confronting her right now may just worsen things. Again, I never had reasons to suspect she cheated, but she hid this from me all these years, and now that I just found out, it feels like she just cheated on me. I'm really broken. She noticed I am not myself these past days, and I dismissed it by saying it's just stress, but she knows me, and she will keep trying to get an answer. I don't know what to do. Should just try and forget what I heard. I don't know if I should talk to her right now, or process it in therapy first. Edit. I decided I will talk to her, but not right now. I'm still very upset and I don't want this to turn into a shouting match. I want it to be a conversation, not a fight. I have a therapy session today and I will speak with my therapist about it. Hopefully it will help me start this conversation with my wife. Had I known she cheated at the time, I would have broken up with her. I understand everyone saying, just leave, but this is the person I built my life with. The person who supported me in so many ways, and helped me grow as a person and as a professional. Before I make any harsh decisions, I want to hear what she has to say about this. Then I will decide for myself what will be the way forward. No, I don't believe she cheated on me other than this time. She never gave me any reasons to think she did. I've always had access to her phone, she was never secretive of anything, and we spend most of our free time together. But how she will answer when I talk to her about it will surely either confirm this or change it completely. Edit 2. I talked to my therapist. It helped me a lot. My head is in a much better place now, and I will talk to my wife tonight. My decision on what will be my next steps will be based on the way she reacts and responds to me. Also, people are assuming we weren't exclusive when the cheating happened. We were. Words were lost in translation as, after we started dating, literally means in my mother tongue, and this is something we say in my country only when couples are exclusive. Which was our case. We did have a phase of friends with benefits when we were both seeing other people, but we knew about it. Update. TLDR, I found out my wife cheated in the beginning of our relationship because she was not sure if things with me were going to work out with me. I overheard her saying this to her sister. Said she regretted it, after seeing a future with me, and nothing of the kind happened again. Should just try and forget what I heard. I received a lot of good feedback on my other post. As usual, there's the "Divorce Now" crew on Reddit, but among those, I was actually surprised to see good suggestions. Anyway, after I made the post, I talked to my therapist. She helped me put things in perspective, and made me really think on what and how I value my relationship with my wife. She made me realize that I really needed to have this conversation with my wife, but not about the cheating itself, but about how she hid it from me. Last night, I decided to speak with my wife. I waited until we were both chilling, and called her to our bedroom, saying I needed to talk. She tensed up and went with me, asked me what was wrong. We both sat on our bed, and I had to hold myself together not to break down in front of her. I said I heard when she spoke to her sister about the time she cheated when we started our relationship, yes, when we started being exclusive. I said I was hurt, a lot, but even more due to the fact that she hid it from me. I asked her why she did it, and why she never told me anything. She broke down crying in front of me. She said it was true, it happened right after we became exclusive. She said that us being friends at the time, and even having a friends with benefits phase made her fall in love with me pretty fast. At the time, she had some friends that kept encouraging her to stay away from me, because she was getting too much attached, and too fast, and she needed to wait and have more fun before going all in into another relationship. When I asked her to be my girlfriend, she said she really wanted to be together with me, so she said yes. But her being her words, naive idiot at the time, she let herself get influenced by those friends, and in one of those night outs, she got drunk and ended hooking up making out with the guy that worked with her in the lab. She said it was just a hookup make out and nothing sexual happened, and she swore she exaggerated the story to her sister, but they did not have sex. She said she regretted it immediately, and left the party for her home and cried all night. I said it was irrelevant if they had sex or not, it was the fact that she kept this hidden from me that hurts the most. She cried again, and said it was wrong of her, it was a stupid mistake, she just wanted to pretend it never happened. Said she was afraid I was going to leave her for something so stupid and did not have the courage to tell me. She swore she loved me, and never felt anything for anyone else after we got together. Then she begged for me to forgive her, again saying it was a stupid mistake of a young and naive girl who has gotten out of a bad relationship and let herself be influenced by bad friends. I felt she was honest, and I mean it. I believe every word of her, and I feel she genuinely regrets what has happened. I said I forgive her, but I wouldn't be able to celebrate the date of our start again. So we decided to pick another date. We now celebrate our marriage anniversary, and the date we moved in together. She deflated like a balloon after we spoke. She said it was tormenting her to keep this secret, and I'm not gonna lie and say this situation did not leave a mark on our relationship. It did, things definitely shifted, but not in a "we need to end" kind of way. But talking to her really did me good, and I love her more than anything in my life. Even though it hurt me, I am now certain we will both be able to navigate this together. Edit. People are getting crazy over my bad English again. Apparently, hookup means having sex, and I didn't know that. I meant, make out. Not everyone on Reddit is from the USA. Stories number 14. Aita for leaving my best friend's surprise party early because it felt more like a roast. Okay, so I, 24F, have this best friend, let's call her Jenna, 24F too, and we've been close since high school. Like, held my hair while I threw up in the Denny's bathroom, type of friends. I honestly love her, I really do. But she can be, a lot. So anyway, she threw this little, surprise party, for me last weekend. My birthday was last Tuesday, but she insisted on celebrating Friday. She told me to dress cute, and she made it sound like it was gonna be this wholesome wine and charcuterie night with the girls. Sounds great, right? Well, I show up in this cute white dress I literally bought for the occasion, hair curled, nails done, all that. I walk in and they yell surprise, but not in a "we love you" way. It was a theme party. The theme? Dress like the birthday girl and roast her. I kid you not, everyone was wearing versions of my go-to outfits. Messy bun, iced coffee cups, fake nails, bad parking tickets taped to their bags. Okay, that one kinda got me. But then they started doing fake toasts that were just jabs. Like, here's to my name, who always has a 10-step skincare routine but still wakes up looking tired. To my name, who thinks astrology is a personality trait. To my name, who ghosted her gym membership but never forgets to DoorDash McFlurries at 2 a.m. Like. Some of it was funny, I'll admit, but after 20 minutes it just got mean. I kept smiling through it like, haha, good one, but deep down I was like, damn. This wasn't a roast with love. It was just people clowning on me for sport. So after pretending to go to the bathroom, I grabbed my keys, quietly told Jenna, I think I'm done for the night, and left. I didn't cause a scene. I didn't cry. I just left. I texted her later that I appreciated the effort, but it felt more like I was the butt of the joke, not the guest of honor. Now Jenna's mad and saying I embarrassed her, and that it was just jokes, and I'm being too sensitive. A few of the others messaged me saying they thought I overreacted and that it was all in fun. But like, isn't a birthday supposed to feel good? Not like a Comedy Central special. So tell me, Aita, for walking out of my own roast disguised as a birthday party. Also for the record, I'm now officially team. Next year I'm celebrating with pizza and my cat. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. NTA, it was a roast. Reply. Haha, I mean yeah, it was a roast, but like. I thought I was getting cheese and wine, not emotional damage and public humiliation. I was literally standing there like, is this still fun or am I just the unpaid entertainment now? Honestly, if someone had handed me a mic and a drink I would have done a tight 5 about them too. Commenter 2. NTA. Ironic she wants to claim anything about being embarrassed. That none of your friends care the humor got stale and are continuing to pile on rather than reflect. Well, are they even friends or do they even like you? Reply, right? That's what's been messing with my head the most. Like, if asterisk this is their idea of fun or love, I'd honestly hate to see what their version of shade looks like. I kept thinking maybe I was being too sensitive, but the fact that not one person said, hey, maybe this is going too far, kinda says it all. It felt like I walked into a group chat where they've been secretly roasting me for months and accidentally read the whole thing out loud, still debating if I should fade out or hit them with a group message titled, roast this, and attach a pic of me on a solo spa weekend. Update. Hey everyone. Wow, I did not expect this much love and support. I've been reading through your comments, like, obsessively tbh, and I can't even tell you how comforting it's been. I thought I was crazy or being too sensitive, like Jenna said, but apparently I was just reacting like a normal human with, feelings. So thank you. So here's what happened since I posted. Jenna texted me. Not to apologize, but to send me a meme that said, roasting is a love language, with a laughing emoji. I left her on read because, girl. Seriously. Later that night, one of the girls from the party, we'll call her Becca, DM'd me and said she thought I knew about the roast. She said Jenna told everyone I was totally down for it and even helped plan it. I was like, what? The only thing I planned was the white dress I wore while being emotionally shanked by 6 girls in fake Uggs. Anyway, I gently explained to Becca that nope, I was blindsided. And she immediately apologized and said she felt really bad. She even said if she'd known, she never would have gone along with it. So that honestly made me feel a bit better, at least one of them has a soul. As for Jenna, radio silence since the meme. No apology, no, hey I messed up, nothing. So I've decided I'm not gonna chase people to value me. My new plan. I took a personal day, got myself a mini spa package, 8 overpriced macarons, and spent my night with my cat binge-watching The Bear while wearing a gold face mask like I was healing from battle, because emotionally, I kinda was. I've realized this whole thing was actually a weird gift. I got roasted, yes. But I also got clarity. I thought I had a solid group of friends, turns out I had a front row seat to my own roast hosted by people who think, mean but make it Pinterest, is a cute party idea. So yeah. Next year, it's just me, my cat, a pizza the size of a steering wheel, and 0 surprises. And you know what? That honestly sounds perfect. Stories number 15. Aita, for telling my wife to stay in our own home instead of sleeping at her sister's all the time. I don't even know where to start. I'm tired. Like, soul deep tired. Every night, I get home from work exhausted, sweaty, starving, and guess what? I open the door to a quiet, dark house. No wife. No dinner. No note. Just me and the same cold silence. She's always at her sister's. Like, always. Not just visiting for a few hours sleeping there. Most nights of the week. Sometimes I don't see her for 2-3 nights straight. She says it's just more comfortable there, or she's used to it, or her sister needs company. But what about me? I didn't marry her just to live alone like a bachelor again. What's the point of having a wife if I'm eating instant noodles in silence every night while she's out there acting like she's still single or like her sister is her actual partner? I finally snapped. I told her straight, can you please stay home? This is our house. I come home to no one. It's starting to feel like I'm not even married. She didn't yell. She just looked at me and said, you know how close I am with my sister. You knew this before we got married. And yeah. I did know they were close. But I didn't think I'd be married to a ghost. Now she's mad at me for controlling her. Her sister even sent me a long-ass message about how I'm isolating her and being insecure. But I swear to God, all I'm asking for is a wife who actually lives with me, who I can talk to at night. Eat with. Wake up next to. Isn't that what marriage is supposed to be? She says I'm selfish. But is it really selfish to want your partner to come home? Aita. Stories number 16. Aita if I don't tell my gay son about this part of my past. Hi everyone, I'm new to Reddit so I don't know if I'm doing this right. I am a 53-year-old dad to 3 kids including a wonderful son that is 16. For the sake of anonymity I will call him Ethan here. I will also try to keep it as short as possible. Basically my son is 16 and he came out a few days ago. I reacted very badly. I cried and basically locked myself in my room for a day straight. But not because he is gay. I do not care about his homosexuality by itself. I love him so much. And I've always been very supportive of gay people I think, even in the 90s when it was not as accepted as it is now. I never cared about it. I even had a gay brother who was 2 years younger than me, and my breakdown to my son's coming out happened because of what happened to him. He was gay. My favorite person in the world, my best friend, my confidant. A bit scrawny LOL but he had a heart of gold. Genuinely the kindest person on earth. But some people decided him being gay was enough to hurt him. 3 guys attacking my baby brother because he looked at them weird. I was there, I tried to stop it, but I couldn't do anything except call the police, and only 1 guy got caught. And yet the police did nothing. That's what happens when the victim is a gay kid in Nebraska farmland I guess. Anyway they got away with it even though my brother got teeth missing, a twisted wrist and 2 broken ribs. He stayed in the hospital for 3 days. The next day when I went to check on him, he had overdosed and I still haven't been able to finish his letter. He was 19, and basically, I never got over it. I still cry myself to sleep some nights when I'm alone, even more than 30 years later and my son looks so much like him. I swear, sometimes I wonder if he isn't reincarnated or something. And everything that I told you, I haven't been able to tell anyone. Not my wife, not my kids, not my gay son. They know my brother died and that I don't talk to my parents, but not what exactly happened to him and that I disowned my parents because they were relieved they wouldn't have to hide their gay son anymore and I do not know how to tell them. It's already hard enough to type this with very few details to strangers on the internet. I don't think I will be able to tell the ones I love especially if they ask for details. I'm broken, I know that. But I don't know what to do. I know my son deserves an explanation but every time I see him I want to cry. He must think I hate him and that breaks me even more. But I just don't know how to say it without breaking down completely. What should I do? Top comments. Commenter 1, show him this post. Or write him a letter. Sometimes you can't verbally express hard things. You are NTA but you need to communicate with him in some form or fashion. Much positivity coming your way from me. I know that has to be hard to think about day in and day out. Commenter 2, you need to tell him. Not knowing, and assuming other things, are far worse than telling him. Commenter 3, wow, you have been carrying that trauma alone for way too long. Time to get some help, talk about your brother, your heartbreak, your loss, and the love. Tell your son that you love him and that he is perfect as he is. When you are ready you should tell Ethan about his uncle, thinking of you and sending love from this internet stranger. Update, Aita if I don't tell my gay son about this part of my past, Hello everyone, if you don't remember me, I posted 2 days ago about my son's coming out and my terrible reaction because of my gay brother's death. Your comments helped me realize a lot of things. I have been deeply traumatized by my brother's death and need to see a therapist, but more importantly, I owed my family, especially my son, an explanation and an apology. So I decided to tell them. I'm still really emotional right now, so I apologize if I do not really make any sense. First, I told my wife. I wanted to have someone by my side when telling my son. I don't think I would have been able to otherwise. As it is still too hard to say out loud, I followed your advice and showed her this post. She cried a lot and told me I should have talked about it a long time ago. She said she was contemplating mentioning divorce to me if I didn't change because she thought I was being so hateful, but now she felt terrible. I told her it wasn't her fault and that I should really apologize to Ethan. I did not want to show him this post because it didn't feel enough given all the harm I caused, so I decided to write a letter to him, my wife standing by my side all along. I told him I couldn't say it out loud because it hurt too much. Apologized for how I reacted and explained to him he hadn't done anything wrong. Then I explained to him exactly what happened with my baby brother. Gave some more details I do not feel comfortable writing again. Told him how much I loved him and that I was so sorry for not showing it recently because of my insecurities. That I'm so proud of him for coming out and that I will love him and support him always, no matter what. After this, I gave my son the letter without a word. I actually tried saying something but nothing came out. So Ethan grabbed the letter and went to his room to read it. I was honestly having a panic attack in my wife's arms when Ethan barged into our room crying and hugging me really tight. He said he was sorry for my brother and that he didn't know. That he was glad I still loved him because he genuinely started to think I really hated him now. I think that's what broke me because I realized how I let my trauma make me a terrible father and let it stain my relationship with my boy. Well, my son is doing better now. Today my son smiled at me for the first time since he came out. I'm planning on taking him to the movies tonight, just the two of us. Also, as you all suggested, I booked a therapy appointment. I need it. I haven't slept at all because whenever my mind goes blank, I either remember when I found my brother or when Ethan told me he thought I really hated him now. I need to get this fixed so I can finally live my life instead of pretending everything is alright. I've kept this all bottled up for so long, I need to let it go now. Thank you so much everyone. Top comments. Commenter 1, thank you for the update. I'm so glad you finally told your wife and your son. And that you've booked a therapy appointment. Now all of you can start to heal and grow together. Commenter 2, proud of you, and happy you've managed to tell them all of that. Commenter 3, this story brought a tear to my eyes, I'm so glad you guys sorted this out. You sound like a great dad with a great son. Stories number 17. Aita, for how I responded when my husband asked me to pay for stepson's surgery. I've been with my husband for about 5 years. He has a son from his previous marriage. Let's call him Aita, who moved in with us when he was 16. From the start, things were very difficult. Ethan was hostile toward me. He never liked me and had kept me at arm's length, and constantly hurt my feelings with his mean-spirited, offensive comments about my age or living situation. He made it clear he didn't want me in his life. While his dad was struggling financially, I offered to help pay for college. I did this because I want to help, but my husband's response. You can't buy your way into being his mom. That hurt. A lot. But okay. I respected their choice and didn't push. Ethan recently got sick and needs surgery. He has been for 4 months but used to take medication till now he needs surgery. He reached out to his dad, asking for financial help. My husband came to me and asked if I'd be willing to contribute, hoping this might be a chance to rebuild a relationship. I just said no. He said this could be the perfect opportunity to make things right between me and Ethan. I said I won't buy my way into being his mom, can I? He didn't take it well. He said I was being cruel and petty, and now he's even saying he's reconsidering our marriage because he thinks I should put the pettiness aside and help Ethan regardless. But I still refused. Stories number 18. Aita, for having an allergic reaction. So I, 18F, have a thing going on with my group of friends for pretty much all of high school that we hang out on Sunday evenings at someone's house. The hosts change week to week, whoever is able to host that week. Anyways, the agreed upon thing was that we all chip in like $5 for food, usually pizza and stuff. Some gave more if someone else was in a rough spot and it always works fine. One friend, Carla's, 18F, parents own a pretty successful restaurant so they like to cook rather than just order pizza, which is great on its own. We all still chip in $5 or so for ingredients. The problem that happened is the dad who likes to cook doesn't take criticism well and always makes something I either can't eat due to allergies or just am not into. I stopped joining in / chipping in money when they would host, so I wasn't a letdown for a while. I had definitely been as clear as an awkward girl can be about what my issues / allergies were. My family has never been very wealthy, and well, we ended up homeless for a while, so the hangout nights became a night I could eat something special without worrying too much, plus my friends were always great about sending me back with leftovers if they could. So Sunday I decided to join in on the meal at Carla's house again. I gave money for it per usual. It turned out to once again be something I'm allergic to. I wanted to cry because essentially I wasted $5 that I could have used. Not wanting to confront them about getting the money back or being a party pooper, I ate some. Now the allergy wasn't anaphylactic, but I broke out in hives, my face was very red and swollen. I took some Benadryl and was as discreet as possible, but my one friend Alex, 17M, noticed and asked if I was okay, so I kinda casually mentioned it. Suddenly the room exploded. Some people were concerned for me, saying I shouldn't have to do that. Carla got very upset and went to tell her dad, who came in and asked me why I didn't just not eat it, to which I replied I didn't want to be a burden or waste my $5. He grabbed $5 and gave it to me, telling me not to eat there again. Carla was upset, I embarrassed her dad. 2 more friends told me I was being an attention seeker, and someone else told me I ruined nights at Carla's house. So Aita. I didn't want this to happen at all, and I don't want to lose my friends. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. Info. Did Clara and her dad both know what your allergies were? Reply. Yes, all my friends and their parents know, since I often have meals at their houses. My parents have always been careful about where and what I eat. Commenter 2. ESH, you said you didn't chip in whenever Carla hosted because her dad completely disregarded your allergies. Why did you think this time would be different? Then, you ate knowing you were going to have a reaction. You should have sat this one out like you've been doing. P.S. The dad is a bigger AH, and the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. They need to get over themselves. Reply. I realize that now I should have sat out, but on Thursday when we found out Carla was gonna be hosting again, I told my friends that I wanted to try it again and reminded Carla about my allergies in specifics. Commenter 3. Info. What happened the first time 5 Hey made something you're allergic to? Did you remind them about it? It must be super frustrating not to be able to eat, but also if there's a large group of you, maybe dad needed reminding of allergies in the group. Reply. I reminded Carla the first time, and after that I would remind her when it was her turn hosting. Commenter 4. ESH, you knew what had happened if you ate the food. But also they should take your dietary needs into account. Maybe your folks could speak to Carla's folks. Dad needs to understand you can't eat certain things, and that money is tighter, so you don't want to waste it. Reply. That's a good idea, I'll ask if they can talk to them. My mom doesn't really know what happened. I was waiting to see if it would die down, but Carla hasn't spoken to me all week and Alex is hosting this Sunday, but if I'll make it awkward by going, so I'll tell mom in the morning. Commenter 5. Everyone saying that you're a moron for eating stuff you're allergic to probably doesn't know what it's like to be really poor and desperately hungry. NTA, I'm sorry that everyone has reacted so badly. Reply. It definitely was a dumb decision on my part. One just didn't expect it to affect other people, I suppose. I didn't expect to lose friends over this. Commenter 6. Seriously, I haven't seen anyone point this out until now. What kind of friends are aware of the situation OP and their family are in and still make them contribute $5 to the group dinner every time? I know Carla's dad is apparently buying ingredients with the pooled money, but it still seems like a ridiculous amount to be charging 18-year-old kids who don't have an independent source of income if you insist on cooking versus them choosing to order a pizza. Even in the latter scenario, if I was 18 and told my, not wealthy, parents that my friend and their family were going through all of this, so it was really hard for them to scrape together a spare $5 for pizza with the group, they would have walked to their wallets, pulled out $20 and told me to make sure I paid for both of us and to give my friend the change to keep after. OP, are your friends from wealthy or privileged backgrounds where they can't wrap their head around your situation or something? They're extremely naive and sheltered, and what's far worse is they seem to lack any empathy. Total NTA. Reply. I know I'm late to reply to this comment, but to answer, I actually am one of the only poor kids in my friend group. Carla is, funny enough, the wealthiest and knows it very well. That's partly why the friends who are upset with me are upset that I may have ruined Carla hosting, since her house is extremely nice and we usually get the whole furnished basement suite to ourselves when we go there. I only hosted a few times in the past and everyone was probably too nice to say anything. The more I say about it, the more cliché it sounds, but I'm honestly from a rougher part of town. I just grew up with my friends through common interests. We don't usually talk about money because it's a big insecurity of mine. Edit. Okay, this got a lot more attention than I was expecting. Sorry for dipping out so long, but Fridays are long days for me. I'd like to thank all those who have commented, even those who have said YTA. I want y'all to know I am reading everything and understanding what you're saying. I'd like to clarify a few things / answer some questions. 1. I'm not really upset at Carla or her parents, more frustrated it happened this way. I didn't want any conflict at all. 2. I was not aware that allergies worsen with exposure, nor do I often expose myself to my allergens. It's been a long time since I've had an allergic reaction, so I admit my knowledge needs to be updated, and that's my own responsibility. 3. $5 is a lot of money for me right now. To those who are asking why I would still do that, my family and I discussed that chipping in $5 was okay if I were to get a good warm meal out of it. My friends also spotted me money most weeks. This week just happened to be a full 5-week for me, if that makes sense. Also, I'm getting some comments of people asking if I have Cash App or anything, and I don't, nor should you spend your money on me. I appreciate it, but if I could accept money from kind strangers on the internet simply because I did a dumb thing. A mini update in the comments. I talked to Alex and showed him this post. He supports me after a longish discussion. I went to my mom and told her as well what happened since she didn't know. She's going to be having a conversation with Carla's parents about it all, so I'll probably update when that happens if people want it. Update. Hey guys, I posted about 2 weeks ago and wanted to try and give an update. I realized that I was being an asshole to myself really and shouldn't have done that. Thankfully for the people in the comments, I also realized I needed to stand up for myself more and get to the bottom of what actually happened in communications about my allergies. First, I showed the post to Alex and we had a long talk about my self-esteem and financial issues, which I rarely talk about due to insecurity. He's a really good guy. Good news, he's extremely supportive, and actually his family offered us their guest space to stay in for a while until we get back on our feet. I've got a part-time job on weekends through the holidays, and my dad started a new job about a month ago, so we're saving now. Second, I showed my parents the post and they were disappointed in me for doing that to myself and not telling them, understandably. They did what some suggested and met with Carla's parents to discuss things. This is all kinda messy, so I'll sum up as best I can. So Carla's dad did have a list of my allergies before that my parents gave him years ago, which he lost when they moved houses. Apparently Carla never gave him an updated list despite me giving them to her. She thought I was making them up. So now Carla's parents are upset with her, and her dad apologized for his lack of initiative and for scaring me. I apologized for not standing up for myself. My friend group is unfortunately still kind of fractured since if I can trust Carla anymore. Her attitude through this whole thing has not been nice, and I realized she's never cared for me as much as some of my other friends. So for now, weekly meetings are off. The friends who stuck by Carla's side during the mess still haven't really talked to me, Alex or the other few friends in our group. Maybe that's for the best though. I want to thank everyone who helped me. I'm sure this will help me in future situations. I'm very thankful for outside perspective. Final comments. Commenter 1. I'm glad everything turned out better, and even more glad that Clara's dad owned up and apologized to you. WTH, Clara, you got the list of allergies and didn't tell your dad. Making him out to be the jerk in the story when she couldn't have been asked to tell him the updated list she got cause she thought you were faking. Drop her like a lead balloon. Reply. Yeah, I didn't want to go on in the post into what she said to me after our parents' meeting and stuff, because TBH I can't believe she acted this way. I'm sad because we were friends for a while, but thankful I found out her real feelings about me, I guess. Commenter 2. I'm so glad things are starting to turn around for your family. It sounds like Carla is jealous of you. Does she have a crush on Alex? She may be jealous of how close you and Alex are. Either way, one of the positives to come out of this situation is that you now know who your real friends are. Reply. I don't think she's jealous, I'm pretty sure she just thinks she's better than I am. She could have a crush on him, but I don't want to speculate. TBH, I had a crush on him for like, ever, lol. Commenter 3. I'm not sure if I should comment this, but you mentioned showing your last post to some people in your life, Alex/parents, which means they might follow up again and see this post. I just don't want you to accidentally give someone the 411 on your crush if you're not ready to. Best of luck, OP. It sounds like you're on the right path. Reply. Thanks for the concern, I appreciate it. Alex already knows, but neither of us is in a place for a relationship right now. He said he likes me back, but our friendship is first, lol. Stories number 19. Aita for having my dad's wife's number blocked so she can't call or text me. 19F, live with my grandparents about 20 minutes from my dad's, 39M, house. He lives there with his wife of 18 months, Nessa, 37F. I met Nessa when I was 16 and the two of us did not get along. My dad tried to make things work between us, but she's not somebody I would ever like, and I will always annoy her by not being into the stuff she's into because she thinks I do like them and just refuse to spend time with her doing this stuff. We lived together for a few months, but I knew they were getting married and she was sticking around, and I knew I would not tolerate living with her for long. I decided to move into my grandparents' house when I turned 18. It made my dad sad, but I told him we could still have a relationship. I just wouldn't live there anymore. After I moved out I blocked Nessa's number. I don't want to hear from her or talk to her or text her. A few weeks ago my dad called to tell me Nessa was in the hospital and she had a pretty bad miscarriage. By the time I got there, to be with him not her, Nessa was taken into surgery and they had to perform a hysterectomy on her. When she came to she was distraught and she freaked out on Dad because it was only when she was miscarrying that she realized I had blocked her because she kept trying to call me. Dad was in a meeting and didn't have his phone. So for 2 hours she was in distress and she tried me but I didn't answer. My dad asked me if I had her blocked or I just didn't answer. I said I blocked her when I moved out. He was sad about it but he seemed to move on. Nessa called me all kinds of names and she's demanding I unblock her and make it up to her because it's my fault everything happened and now she can never have kids. I refuse to do this and she's constantly pissed at my dad because she can't tell me how pissed she is because of being blocked. Stories number 20. My girlfriend, F20, cheated on me, M21, with her best friend. During the summer break my girlfriend cheated on me with her best friend, all the while keeping me in the dark and the general communication was zero. We came back to college and I started hearing dumb things and excuses that lead to fights like, "You kiss differently, you've changed, you're not who you were." I haven't changed a bit, it's just that something felt off. One day we had an event in college and we had a lot of fun. The same night I got a call from her, she was crying and she told me how she cheated on me with her best friend for about 3 months. She told me how she realized she truly loved me. I don't like shouting on people or fighting so I immediately cut the call and didn't want to talk further. She started bombarding me with calls. I picked up one call and told her that I didn't want to talk right now and was in no mood to discuss this further. She kept calling me, now her friends also joined in, I was getting messages and calls left and right, she was crying and not eating. Finally I had to pick up the call, she was crying profusely and asking me why I wasn't talking to her. She kept saying I love you but I couldn't bring myself to reciprocate. I told her I wanted to break up but that blew the lid off her and she started crying very loudly. I somehow convinced her to eat something and not cry, she kept saying she only wanted me and nothing else. But my trust was shattered. She made me meet her the next day although I didn't want to. I told her I wanted a break and it'll be a long time before I was normal again, she just kept crying and asking me not to do this. She kept saying I love you, don't do this etc. After a while I thought maybe I was being too dramatic, and told her I can't trust her anymore. She said she would do anything. I could only tell her I can't do this. She kept pushing me. Me and my ex were really good friends, we broke up on mutual terms and would talk once in a while, she had a problem with talking to my ex and made me block her. Finally I asked her to choose between me or her best friend. I'm not someone who does something like this, she used to hang out with him and leave me behind, talk to him and not answer my calls at times but I trusted her fully. She said she wants to be with me, she made it a point to show me she blocked him, it was all well and good until about a week later when I saw she was talking to him on Instagram. I was hurt, I had started to trust her again to some degree, I immediately confronted her and she blocked him again but I wasn't having any of it, she started crying and begging me. After a lot of this I still agreed to be with her. Now yesterday, again I saw this guy's chats, never checked her phone, she was showing me something, on Instagram and confronted her about it immediately, she started telling me how her friend was becoming suicidal and this and that. I called the guy directly and talked to him in front of her and told both of them that I wasn't okay with it and that she will have to choose. Now somehow my girlfriend told me I was being controlling by asking her to choose and at this point I had had enough. I asked her to take her stuff and go to her hostel. I have a flat, she lives in the hostel. Now I thought talking to one of her friends who was quite reasonable was a good idea. I called her friend up in front of her and she told my girlfriend to do what she thought was right. Then she took the phone off the speaker and I was like, this involves me, I would like to listen. At this point she started leaving the room. She had already packed her stuff, so in anger I told her that if you leave just don't come back. At this point she made up her mind about the breakup and proceeded to take her stuff and walk out the door. It was pretty late at night and I didn't want to let her go in an unsafe situation. I chased after her and said I'd give her a ride. She refused but I insisted. Finally she agreed. At this point she had told her friends and her best friend that we've broken up. But during the ride she held on to me and started crying asking me if we were really doing this. I didn't have an answer. What do I do? TLDR. Girlfriend cheated on me with her best friend but still talking to him behind my back and against my wishes. Top comment. Commenter 1. What do I do? Break up. She cheated on you for 3 months and unblocked him 2CE and then told you you were being controlling for giving her an ultimatum. You'd be a fool to let her treat you like that. Update. A year ago I posted on this subreddit, so I wanted to provide an update and thank my fellow Redditors. I took the advice and broke up and realized that the relationship was really sucking the life out of me and was the worst thing in my life at the moment. Since then I have met someone who understands me and cares for me. There's no drama. Well, I once ate the last pizza slice and she got pretty angry, but yeah, that's the level of the drama. We support each other and she makes me a better human all around. Because of my ex I wasn't able to focus on my studies, and the breakup combined with the COVID pandemic gave me ample time for studying, and I landed an internship at a big bulge bracket company, and also I'm working on a few personal projects that I love spending time on. The pandemic also gave me time to realize that I was with the wrong person, and I love many others who love me, be it my family, friends, etc. I feel really liberated. Today I was looking back at what used to be and I remembered that this subreddit for the trigger point for the change in my life. So thank you, and you all are awesome. It's because of you I've gone from crying nights to happy days. Edit 1, some edits based on comments. Edit 2, holy smokes. I didn't expect such a reaction. Thanks guys. Edit 3, such wholesome comments, thanks guys. TLDR. Took the advice of fellow Redditors and broke up with my ex and spent probably the best year of my life. Top comments. Commenter 1, guy, you ate the last slice. You'd better be glad she's not coming here for advice on what to do about you. Seriously though, glad things are going well for you. Reply, I'll always be watching over my shoulder for the day she takes her revenge. Commenter 2, it will happen while you sleep. My preferred method is a fork to the temple. Reply, spoon if you really want me to feel pain. Commenter 3, one piece of advice, from a happily married guy, always leave the last piece of X for your girl. And let her know. Not as a manipulative ploy, but because it makes her happy. And it'll make you happy watching her eat it. Plus you don't need the extra calories. If you're anything like me, you can the whole pizza, box of cookies, entire cake/pie, by yourself. But it's better to share with your significant other. Stories number 21. I got drugged yesterday. Obvious content warning. I met my dad out for dinner at one of our local Mexican restaurants, and I live closer, so I got there a few minutes early. I elected to sit at the bar, only patron there, where a bartender named Dante took my order, one margarita on the rocks. I'm in my early 20s, so he IDs me. Fair enough. I get carded probably 40% of the time. I am also trans, and the photo on my ID is of a teenage boy. I'll fix it soon, which I very clearly am not. I try to avoid giving people my ID whenever I can, but, well, it's unavoidable sometimes. He checks the ID and seems satisfied, and disappears from the bar for a minute to return with my margarita. Once I start sipping, he starts grilling me about whether that's me, what my name is, where I'm from, etc. To be honest, I sounded like I was lying. I got my age wrong. He clearly does not believe this is me, and thinks I am underage using some guy's ID. He also makes it clear that he doesn't care if I'm underage, he's just curious. Then my memory starts to get fuzzy. I know my dad got there. I know I had that margarita, a glass of water, and food. I know he offered me a second one on the house. I know I said no. I know I drove home. I know I called my friend. I don't remember what we talked about at dinner. I don't know how I didn't die in a car accident by making the stupid decision to drive. I don't know if it was the bartender or someone else. I don't know when I knew I needed help. I knew something was wrong. I know from my text timestamps I didn't get to the hospital till almost 10:45, 3.5 hours after finishing my one margarita. I got 4 fluids. By the time a doctor saw me and actually ran any tests, it was like 3 a.m. Nothing detectable, and I'd started to be able to hold my head up by myself, so, according to the doc, clearly I was exaggerating earlier. The doctor tells me to be more careful at bars, as if the foundation of literally our entire society is not built on the transactional trust that when you buy something from a vendor they are not trying to drug and rape you. It's been surreal all day and it's finally starting to sink in. I was so lucky. I had people with me, I made it home, I got to the ER. If anything went any other way, the story you'd be reading right now would be very, very different. Like obviously I watch my drink when I have one with an open top. I'd have to be stupid, arrogant, or both not to. But I guess I wasn't expecting it at a restaurant, on a Monday night, from the staff. With my dad sitting next to me. Like, I did everything right, and I still got hurt. I'm not sure I can, feel safe with food and drink that I didn't make anymore. Fuck. Edit, I was not tested for GHB at all. Pretty sure no ketamine test either. 10 panel talks, but I don't remember them all off the top of my head. After it came up negative, the doctor ordered a CAT scan and an EKG before letting me leave, 4:30 a.m. He was also super condescending about fluids making me feel better. Surely the 2-hour-plus wait had nothing to do with it. My dad noticed the bartender being weird. He looked crestfallen when someone sat next to me. But, he didn't notice me being weird, at least not as far as he's told me. I filed a complaint with the local liquor board. I imagine they'll be interested in a place that's willing to serve minors as long as they seem vulnerable. I'll call and try to file a police report once I'm off of work. Not that I expect anything of it, but, paper trail I guess. Stories number 22. Stepdaughter's entitled boyfriend lands them homeless, carless, and adrift. I call my stepdaughter's entitled boyfriend Wreck-It Ralph, no relation to the trademark cartoon, just coincidental naming. He has a tendency to break/ruin/tear up everything he touches. My stepdaughter, who is actually a sweet and endearing young woman whom I love dearly, has, like many young women with self-esteem issues, allowed herself to be led astray by WR. In the year they've been together, she's lost everything, but at 23 she is old enough to learn her lessons without us parents coming to her rescue until she gets rid of WIR and back on track. When they first got together, they lived with her dad and myself for a few months. It very quickly became apparent WIR had a chip on his shoulder when it came to me. He would carry tales to my husband, causing us to argue, despite my husband telling WIR many times that was my house and everything in it was mine. WIR would keep asking my husband, not me, if he could have this or that, and that's if he asked. He kept getting more and more animals despite our telling him no more. Neither were taking care of the ones they had. They weren't buying dog or cat food or cat litter, my husband and I were. They weren't picking up the messes, and they weren't training them, allowing them to tear up our belongings. Mary Jane is legal in our state, and there is a dispensary in our town, and the only work these two would do is door delivery, her job with a daily payout, just to get enough money for WIR to make a purchase at the dispensary every day along with eating at fast food restaurant. WIR's chip on his shoulder when it came to me was such that they brought my husband a soda one night, walking in the back door right past me, calling out loudly, "We got you your favorite soft drink," to my husband in the living room with zero inclusion to me. Another example is my stepdaughter asking if she could use my debit card to go get the four of us drinks at a local convenience store one hot day. My husband and I were unloading stuff from the truck and trailer in the backyard, which was no problem. However, when checking my account they spent $20 on food for WIR without asking. The end came when I told them they had to replace the bedroom door their dog chewed the bottom out of, and refused to allow the pit bull mix they wanted to rescue, even though it had a bite history, to enter my home. They moved to my stepdaughter's mother's home at that point. During their time there my stepdaughter kept getting tickets in her car, which is only registered to my husband. They weren't paying their insurance, which I had bought my stepdaughter her own policy and paid the startup out of my money when they lived with us, and didn't pay the plate renewal. Now her license is suspended, and it cost my husband and I $600 to get the plates, again in his name only, unsuspended. Plus they had damaged the car and it needed repairs. So he took it from them. Before her license was suspended, but after the police took the plates from her car my husband let her use his truck, which was on my insurance policy. WR drove it, and he has no license, and blew the motor in it. It is now sitting and can't be used. I told my husband I would put the car on my insurance for him, but only if he drove it. If he returned it to them I was canceling the insurance, which I've stood by. Nevertheless, WR called daily demanding my husband return the car to them once it was legal and fixed. After 3 weeks my husband finally said, "Look you dumbass, I don't know what it is that you think you're trying to accomplish here, but you're not demanding anything from me and you're not getting the car back. I may have originally bought it for her before she got with you, but it is my car in my name and I'm keeping it in lieu of the truck you ruined. Don't call me again about the car. Got it?" We had been hearing of ongoing disputes between my husband's ex and WR. Things got so bad there that WIR told my husband's ex-wife to pack her shit and get the F out of her own home. Another time he told her to shut the F up and remember who she's talking to. So we all decided it was time to let our daughter hit rock bottom, since she wasn't seeing how WIR had taken her from being a sweet, lovable, well-liked and responsible girl in a college nursing program to this person with a criminal history and no prospects at the moment. My husband's ex-wife moved in with her boyfriend, turning the power off at the home she had been renting, and told her former landlord, whom she was actually long-time friends with, she wouldn't allow it to affect their friendship if he evicted them for squatting, since neither were on her lease to begin with. When my stepdaughter called wanting to come back, my husband told her she could, but WIR could not. Now they are staying at a homeless shelter in the town where WIR's mom lives, and WIR's mom won't let them live with her either. We hate to see her go through this, but this entitled WIR she won't let go of has really brought her down, and she can do so much better. This guy actually told us once he couldn't work at a factory that he interviewed at because it was climate controlled and his heart condition won't allow that, then argued with me and my husband that climate controlled meant controlled by the climate, so it was hot in summer and cold in winter. We haven't seen him hold a job or do anything useful and productive since they've been together, just a man from and use the people who love the girl he's become a Klingon to. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. Cameras are a method of collecting evidence and can maybe be considered a deterrent. certainly doesn't mean WR won't come over. In fact, I assume he doesn't care at all. Reply, I've dealt with that once before and it didn't work out very well for the other person. Yes, he literally broke my surveillance cameras, broke into my home, claimed to be a resident needing evicted, stole belongings, and threatened me and my spouse. When we contacted the police who said it was a civil matter, I informed the police in writing with photos of damage that due to the threats to self, party, home, and property it now fell into the realm of legally authorized self-defense. I went on to explain that I am a black belt and trained marksman, true story on both accounts, and that since the police could not do anything I was prepared to use whatever force was necessary. The very next day warrants were issued for that person. WR won't win on that front. Commenter 2, 9 out of 10 he's abusing her in some form. Whatever you do, don't break contact with her. Reply, no, we haven't cut off communication. We've only cut off any support he might benefit from. Like, I'd go buy her tampons if she asked, but I won't give any money for tampons. I'll give her a ride if she asks, but I won't give them a ride. She has a home and support, he do not. Commenter 3, you are doing the right thing but must be heartbroken for her current situation. Curious to know, what happened to all the pets? Reply, well, the saddest pet story is the one regarding her beloved Pomeranian that she's had for about 8 years I believe. My husband had gotten him for her before we met, and she was pretty attached to him. My husband and I were not aware that they could only have one animal there, and naturally they had to choose his pit mix pup over any other animal. In what I can't help but feel was a calculated move on his part, WR convinced her to leave Bumper who was full-blooded and AKC registered with his sister, who we feel sold him. When my husband found out where Bumper was he told her to bring him to us, but by then it was too late and WR's sister was smugly arrogant about, they abandoned him. I surrendered him to the shelter. My husband and I both called all the shelters in a surrounding 3-county radius which encompasses a large metro area in the state next to ours as we live near the state line to no avail. No dog matching his description has passed through any of their shelters in the previous 90 days. We contacted law enforcement but without proof she agreed to take care of him instead of her story of them just leaving Bumper at her place without permission and not coming back for him. It was a civil matter. The 2 cats were given away, and the pit mix pup he wasn't being a responsible pet owner for and who had no shots contracted parvo and died. The other pit mix he wanted to bring to my home as a rescue, and had a bite history, my husband took to the shelter because I wasn't about to shoulder that liability or risk our homeowner's insurance. I'm a pet lover and have pugs, my husband has a chihuahua, and I cried for my husband's broken heart over Bumper who I had no issue taking back in for my husband and stepdaughter. However, I do draw the line on pit mixes when one has a bite history and the other chewed through the solid wood 6-panel interior door to their bedroom, which yes I ultimately paid to replace after they moved out, along with the flooring. I've never been a cat person, call me a bitch and I'll happily wear the title, but stinky litter boxes and cat litter all over the floor for an annoying tail across your face while sleeping and without the loyalty or alerting protection of a dog, no thank you. Plus my husband is mildly allergic so there's that. Commenter 4, thank you for replying, another heartbreak for your family then. WR sounds truly awful as does his sister. Do you have any way of seeing your daughter on her own just to reassure that you mean it when you say she doesn't have to live like this? Reply, I wish she does call, usually to ask for money which we don't give. He has her put it on speakerphone so he can hear everything and usually manages to interject himself into every conversation. Her dad has told her he wants a family day with just her, but so far it's not been arranged. Her friends have called us worried, one tried telling her to get rid of him when they were alone in the car one day and all she did was stare straight ahead out the windshield without acknowledging what her friend was saying. Her dad and I know, she knows, but we also see where she's frozen in fear of leaving him. I don't believe it fear of abuse, I think it's fear of not having anyone and fear of being less than her siblings and peers. Out of my husband and I's children as well as her mother's children, she's now the only one not committed, settled, and a parent, except her sister from her mom who is intellectually disabled and institutionalized, so this sibling doesn't count in terms of this level of sibling self-worth, even though she's not the youngest. None of US 3 parents of course judge her or make her feel inferior for that, but between her low self-esteem and judging herself according to the other kids in her extended blended family I genuinely feel she won't leave WIR because she feels he's her last chance. Update 1. Well, we are making progress, anyway. My stepdaughter recently had court in town 30 miles west of us. They are staying just across the state line in a small city 30 miles east of us. So my husband and I devised a plan to get her a loan from him. We said the only car running was the 2-seat convertible and could only take her for her court appearance. My husband picked her up, then I took her to her court appearance as my husband had to be at the house for something. On the way, she started talking about how she wanted to break up with WIR but was afraid of the hurt that comes with it. She hated how controlling and untruthful he was but felt he truly loved her and didn't know if the negative behavior was simply from their stressful circumstances. She said once he got State Route 22 insurance and his license back he would be able to work and things would be better. I pulled out my phone, and went to the court file website for the county north of us where WR used to live. I pulled up 6 cases in his name, 3 to do with driving with multiple citations in each. The most recent, he was speeding, ran a stop sign, hit a woman, fled the scene, had a suspended license and registration and had obviously no insurance. He was arrested later and had to post bond. That case he had $4,000 in fines, plus we had received a letter at our house from the state stating he owed $11,000 in restitution to the woman for damages and that his license was permanently suspended until the restitution, any related court-imposed fines, and state-imposed reinstatement fee was paid along with proof of SR 22 within 48 hours of release of suspension by the state. My husband accidentally opened it, it arrived in a stack of other mail and he didn't look at addressee. She was deflated and angry, stating they'd talked at length and he never told her any of that, only that he needed SR 22 because he got caught driving without insurance and had to have it before he could get his license back. As someone who used to have my own insurance sales license, I told her no, you can't get insurance if your license is suspended or revoked, at least not in our state. He would have to get his license valid then get insurance for mandated SR 22 reporting. She herself ended up on probation for her driving issues related to him with a 6-month suspension and $750 in fines, lucky break from judge in all honesty. She too will have to have SR 22 once her suspension is over. Afterwards, while I stopped at the store to get stuff for supper, WR kept calling and demanding she come back. Despite plans to have supper with her that evening, she ultimately gave in to the relentless calls and asked her dad to take her back before I could cook. I did verify that yes, she has an IUD for those that inquired. She was very unhappy with her situation and beginning to see him for what he is, and how in the year they've been together he's brought her down. However, she's not quite at the leaving him point, but hopefully with any luck she'll be calling to come home soon. She knows she has a place here with us, but he doesn't. Relevant comments. Commenter 1, despite everything you told her, she still isn't at the leaving him point. Genuinely curious, what would he have to do for her to be at the leaving him point? Reply, I don't know. The fact she is considering it is a move in the right direction and we are being supportive without giving any money or enabling the situation in any capacity. The fact she now has a misdemeanor from driving as a result of his actions really weighed on her. I told her, without mentioning him, it wasn't the end of the world but that it was meant to be a learning point and she should reflect upon how and why she got it as well as how to move forward from here. She was receptive. Update 2. It's been a while since I first posted about my stepdaughter and her entitled boyfriend, and I have had requests for updates. Well, here you go. First of all, I think you all probably know what developed immediately after I posted. Most of you, and myself, nailed it on the head. She was actually pregnant when I made the post. And kept it quiet until she was showing, giving her dad and I about 3 months to prepare for our granddaughter. She's a beautiful little girl, with eyes and a smile that light up the place. She's not quite a year old now. Sadly, my husband was killed unexpectedly when the baby was only 6 weeks old. My stepdaughter and I witnessed it, much to our horror. It has been a very devastating and emotional time since. This may surprise many of you, but she, the baby, and WIR all 3 still live with me. And guess what? He and she both have jobs now. He is actually a surprisingly good dad. He is still a bit more possessive of the 2 girls than I care for, however he also knows he will never have the pull and manipulation over me through my stepdaughter that he tried with her mother and my husband, so he knows his limits. Neither have driver's licenses and I do not routinely taxi them to work or back. They are adults with a child, but I will take them or pick them up on occasion. I let them know I'm proud of them both, and want to see them succeed. And by the way, Step has been differentiated for these posts only. In real life, neither my husband or I ever use Step when referring to our children and grandchildren. His kids are mine, just as mine were his, and that will never change. I will always love and be there for my stepdaughter and granddaughter as her parent. Even WIR learned I had his back on an incident I knew was not his doing or fault but he was wrongfully getting blamed for. When my husband was killed, as she and I sat stunned in the ER with his body, WIR was the first family member through the door to us still in his work uniform having come straight from his job, falling to his knees in genuine tears and pulling us both into a tearful group hug as we all cried together. I give credit where credit is due, but here is our update. Bittersweet. Unexpected. Not at all how I, or probably most of you, would have thought things would pan out. Even the entitled Wreck-It Ralphs of the world do, sometimes it seems, have the potential to turn themselves around and begin to resemble normal, productive, team player people again. It's not perfect, but no one's life is. It's a damn good start in the right direction for them at least. And I'm grateful to still have them in my life too. These last months would have been worse without them. Commenter 1, good on you for staying strong and compassionate of others in the midst of your tragedy. We are all happy for the joy of your granddaughter's good health and the love you share. Commenter 2, so sorry for the devastating loss of your husband. Your update gives hope and promise to possibilities and love. Enjoy your precious grandbaby. Stories number 23. Coworker says she loves shoplifting. I've been ingesting over a coworker interaction that I just let go by. I am the oldest and most domesticated person in my workplace, but I try hard not to give off work mom vibes. Maybe I have been too successful. Jane works full-time in an admin role at our public library. She is fresh out of high school, so new to the workplace. She was chatting with Cindy, who shares my workspace, when she started talking about how much she loves shoplifting. She hastened to add that she takes things only from large corporations and obviously would never steal from the library, where all our things are free. She concluded, I love that I can say that here. She emphatically cannot say that here. She definitely can't say it in front of me. I do not supervise her work, but it's hardly outside the realm of possibility that someone would ask me for an opinion on her, and now I have major doubts about her integrity and her judgment. What, if anything, should I have said in the moment? She wasn't even exactly talking to me. Was I right to ignore it? I'm worried I gave the impression that I think shoplifting is okay. Update 1. Our young shoplifting friend has been a source of chaos and positive change, so I thought I would send a tiny update. The self-described shoplifter, Alice, was seen rummaging through security guys' drawers looking for his keys to a locked cabinet. He got mad at her, even vented about getting her fired, but considering that neither of us has that power, I think he was just blowing off steam, and I gather he was pretty harsh. At our next all-staff, Alice began crying as she described how upset she was about being chastised for this faux pas. The locked cabinet contains items like beanies, metallic blankets, and water bottles for use in one-on-one conversations with our most vulnerable patrons, and she was trying to help someone in a way that was 100% in line with her job. Security guy gruffly offered to unlock the cabinet in the morning and relock it when he leaves so that those items are freely available to the front desk staff during the day. Even though the cabinet is in a locked staff area, stuff gets stolen overnight. So not a huge update, but I thought people might enjoy that her anarchic energy does some good in the workplace. There was a very informative discussion in the comments about shoplifting. Apparently, for a lot of people it's a pretty normal part of growing up and young adulthood that those of us who don't participate just have no idea about. Separately, I listened to a podcast episode about the book Who Moved My Cheese? And realized that lingering trauma from a very mean boss that I had when I was fresh out of college is probably part of why I am so solicitous about the young people in my workplace, but that's neither here nor there. Final update. Our young shoplifter friend is moving away back to her hometown. Her last day is this weekend, and this morning we had a big 3-hour all-staff meeting. At the end of the meeting, she asked if she could make a goodbye speech. She talked for at least 5, maybe even 10 minutes without pause. The content of her speech was almost entirely about how bad our boss is. Micromanagement, lack of support, being more concerned with getting rid of our fun decorations and making sure there's no dust than with serving our high-needs customers. She mentioned being called into HR and then reprimanded for not wanting to talk with an HR person that she doesn't know and who has never done our job about her handling of a traumatic event. She handled more than one customer overdose in the year or so she worked here. No one stopped her. Our boss just kept packing up the meeting supplies. Our boss's boss just sat there listening. When she finished, many of our coworkers clapped and said thank you. So farewell to my little anarchist colleague. Please don't grow up too fast because we need your burn-it-down anarchic energy more than ever. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. I'm curious about post, whether the coworkers who clapped agreed with what she said. From the original letter, it sounded like this person was very anti-corporate and naive about what to say in front of colleagues. But then the update from December 2024 was very different and seemed like she was actively undermining the organization's work. This one seems like a mix, and I can't tell whether she was airing legitimate grievances and others were secretly happy she said it out loud, or whether she was feeling aggrieved by things that are part of the workplace and everyone let it go because she was on her way out the door. Reply. Legit grievances, although some people were upset that she did a non-consensual trauma dumping. We have continued to bleed good staff since this went down and more are actively looking to leave, including me. I don't know where you got the idea that she was undermining our work. She pissed off our security guard, who got shit-canned later, by rummaging through his stuff, but she just wanted a key to items she was allowed to distribute. Commenter 2. So the LW for the post has mentioned on multiple occasions that this young woman regularly helps vulnerable populations. Update 1. Has dealt with multiple ODs at work. The Ellie herself says we need more people like her, and people in the comments are just talking about how she sounds awful because she disrespects authority. Did I get that right? Reply. You sure did. Thank you for defending my young friend. I genuinely believe she means well and will be less of a hot mess with a few years to grow up. Commenter 3. I love her. I bet a bunch of her colleagues were happy that someone was speaking up, and she is making small beautiful waves in the communities that she is part of. I am a bit of a polite rabble-rouser, though more polished due to age, socialization, etc., and am shocked how often people who are older/wiser/have more cash than me at work thank me for speaking up. Why yes, I work in libraries. Best of luck to the OP's workplace as well as the departing library worker Anarchist. Stories number 24. Aita sold her shoes since she sold my Magic collection. I, 23M, had a collection of Magic the Gathering cards that I kept in my storage locker under my bed. My girlfriend, 22F, recently took my storage locker to a local card shop and sold my whole collection. The shop owner is shady for accepting to cut my lock off. I got upset with my girlfriend and asked why she sold them. Her response being, "You don't play anymore." Between work, school, and her I don't have the time for any of my hobbies. I told my girlfriend to get out of my apartment and that her selling my stuff was a perfect reason to break up with her. She started crying and began saying hateful things which I ignored. I had locked myself in the bathroom waiting for her to finally leave. When she did I gathered her all her shoes, this probably makes me an asshole, and sold them. She found out and went off on me getting a punch to me. I told her, well you never wear them. I asked for the extra key to my apartment, because I told her we needed to end things, but she refuses to give it back. Aita. Also, how does one get the key back? Edit, my mom showed up with donuts. We talked to the landlord and he got a good laugh. I didn't tell him everything. Just that I had a bad breakup and trusted the wrong person. Told me it happens often. He also flirted with my mom. Good on her, nearly 50 and still getting hit on. My ex is coming by to grab her belongings and I am giving her the shoe money rounded up. She agreed to give me the collection money. I hope this is the end of it. I really don't think I want to handle anything legal. I'll miss my collection. Guess at the end of the day I am too lazy to bother. Great advice from everyone though. Thank you. I'm going to be much more careful with my keys and dating life. Stories number 25. Wibta if I, F28, told my husband, M28, his sleep boundaries went out the window when he had our son. Husband, we will call Brad, and I have been together 2.5 years. Had our son in January. Things have been pretty great, but this had me feeling kind of annoyed. Brad is diagnosed with autism and ADHD, which can make communication between us challenging at times, but we do our best. We live in Europe, not US. Since Brad has ADHD, he only works at 50%, the other half is covered by a health insurance here on a temporary basis, and every few months he has to keep applying for more. It is stressful, as we wait for him to hopefully get on a permanent coverage. Since this is so up in the air, instead of me taking a full year of mat leave, he took a majority of the days in case his temp health insurance is denied for some reason, then he can keep his work schedule at 50% and still get paid on the days he has off, which means I went back to work part-time. I WFH as a private teacher. I choose my hours, since my students usually live in different countries. I chose some in the afternoon when Brad is home with our son, and at nights, when my students would be awake and Brad is also home. I only have one student in the evening, 23 to 23:30 twice a week. This is to help with some income, and we discussed this before I went back to work. He had asked no students past midnight. So if baby is having issues sleeping, he can take care of him and hopefully get him to sleep. Well, Brad got back on a schedule where he wants to go to bed at 2300 hours, every night. We try to, but with a baby, sometimes, it just does not happen. Baby sometimes will stay asleep when I put him to bed, I nurse him to sleep, and sometimes he wakes up screaming. Well, last night I told Brad I had my student at 2300 hours, and I would try to have baby sleeping by then. He asked me, what is your plan if baby wakes up? My bedtime is 2300 hours, so hopefully you have thought of something. I said, well, hopefully he stays asleep. If not, you will just have to take care of him, or put him on his play mat and entertain him. He resolutely said, bedtime is 2300 hours, and I will go to bed. Come 2300 hours, baby is in bed, and Brad is just getting out of the shower. I guess he woke up moments after I started with my student, as when I came out of the office, he was walking around with baby. I took him, nursed him back to sleep and went to bed also shortly after 23:30. This morning, he was a bit annoyed with me. When I tried to hug him goodbye as he was leaving to work, he did not hug me back. We always do this before he leaves, so I said, "Are you upset with me still?" He replied, "Yes, you crossed my boundary. My bedtime is 2300 hours. We discussed this. I go to bed, and anything past that is your problem to solve if baby wakes up." He left for work, and I was just thinking, what? I feel I need to have some discussion with Brad about this, but Wibta if I told him he has no more boundaries with his sleep and he is being ridiculous. Update, so, he came home. And we had a long talk, about how his words can be easily misunderstood, especially if he does not clarify to me, or I ask him to. How a baby equals no boundary with sleep. We do our best, all we can do. We need to spend more time as a family, together. I explained how to a neurotypical person, his words and actions hurt, even if that is not his intent. That baby is the priority always, even our mental health. We only have each other, and even though I can sympathize with the mental health, you just have to push past it. I am doing all I can, and if you need help, ask for it. He is willing to get extra support at the neuropsych where we live beyond what he has. He is medicated and getting all the help he can, and will seek ways to cope. I made it clear that no way was his reaction okay, and it cannot happen again for baby's sake. He seemed to understand. As some of you suggested him getting extra support for his ADHD, he will. I will ask also for some counseling how to communicate better myself to him. Around the house, he will spend less time alone. More with us. Free time happens after or when baby sleeps. Not before. Games can be played in the living room where we are together. Also, my mother offered to be on call if she has the time, so if husband is alone with baby, she can video chat with baby, which he likes. I talk with her on video almost every day, and sometimes it can snap baby into a better mood when he sees his Grammy. And yes, we live in Sweden. So we get 480 days between us and we can share/trade, so I can get some days back if it comes to it. I was never forced to give my days, it was my choice due to what was happening at the time. He only works 50% because that is what he feels he can do without burning himself out. He has other health issues, diabetic, EDS, that make him more exhausted. His job pays pretty well, but on just half his wage is not enough. If he gets permanent health insurance, it could take a few years. We hope. I am with him because when I met him he was under less pressure. He is fully capable, had a job, cleaned his apartment, has a social life. I think the stress of having the health insurance and our son sometimes just, being a baby got to him. Prior to this, he has been a good husband, father, considerate. I am not stupid. I was in an abusive relationship prior. My parents love him. Just not his behavior at times like now. He messed up. With his words. He has acknowledged that. Some of you thought it might be a deeper issue, but no. I asked and he just said he was upset because to him I was working at a time he did not agree to, but I had to remind him wanting to go to bed at 2300 hours was recent, as in back in May, when I started to go back to work. He just is stressed, from work, baby, and just day-to-day things. He apologized for how he rejected my hug by standing there, he was annoyed, why he did not reciprocate, and how he worded things last night and this morning. I promised no students past 23:30. He said OFC he would never let our son just cry if he was going to bed. I had student, and baby was awake. Will it stick? We just take one day at a time. Next step is couples counseling as opposed to individual and involving my parents whom he respects. Stories number 26. I, 27F, found a long black hair in our bathtub that is not or my husband's, 27M. What to do? Yesterday, I gave the bathroom a deep cleaning, today I was gone for half the day. When I came home and went to take a bath, I noticed a long black hair in the tub and I'm blonde. He has short hair. I've never had any reason to think he would cheat, but a few months ago, I had some suspicions that he was tracking my location without my knowing. He's very tech-savvy unlike me, and after some strange phone calls and other odd things that happened, I started to feel like I was being tracked. I made a comment about it, and the strange things stopped happening. I kind of forgot about the whole incident and decided to give him the benefit of the doubt. But now, the thoughts that are popping into my head are, what if he was and is tracking my location after all, so he could cheat? I've had paranoid spirals in the past, and I don't know if I'm blowing this way out of proportion or seeing something that's not there because my mind wanders too much. I haven't said anything to him yet because I don't want to stress him out over nothing. And again, until now the thought has never once crossed my mind that he wouldn't be faithful. Is this concerning or am I being ridiculous? Edit, I'm getting more comments than I can keep up with, but I really appreciate everyone that's left a comment. I love having this place to come with questions I can't ask anyone else, it's always very helpful. I'm going to try some non-intrusive things that have been suggested. I don't want to do anything that would cross a boundary or break his trust, even if I do turn up something. I just don't feel right going through his phone or installing cameras etc. I'll try searching the tub drain, lint rolling around the house, possibly having my phone searched for spyware and truck looked over for an air tag. I also think I could easily leave my phone behind one day, and drive home because I forgot something, and gauge his reaction. There's lots of comments that have been left that I'll go through again that have to do with checking my phone and the different ways he could track me. I'm not going to assume he's guilty or anything, it's mostly for my peace of mind. If anything comes up from this, or not. Stories number 27. Aita for refusing to live with my husband's mom just so she can raise our child her way. Okay, I need to get this off my chest before I lose it. So, here's what's been going on. I'm 26, first-time mom, married for 3 years. We just had a baby 5 months ago. It's been overwhelming but beautiful and terrifying and all the things people say it is. And also exhausting. Like, I haven't slept properly since birth, and some days I can barely keep track of my own name. So here comes my husband's mom. At first, she helped out a bit, cooked, brought diapers, that kind of thing. I appreciated it. Really. But then it started to get weird. She'd correct how I changed diapers. Told me I was holding my baby wrong. Once, she took my son from my arms because apparently I was too tense and babies can sense that. I was breastfeeding. And then she says this, you guys should just move in with me. I raised 3 boys, I know what I'm doing. You still have a lot to learn. Excuse me? She kept pushing the idea like it was this magical solution. It'll be easier. You'll have more help. But let's be real, this isn't about help. This is about control. She wants a say in everything. What my son eats, when he sleeps, what kind of clothes he wears. She even said it'd be better for the baby to call her mama in the early months because I look too stressed to bond properly. I told my husband no. Straight up. I said I'm not moving into his mom's house just so she can take over as a second, or first, mom to our kid. I thought he'd back me up. Instead, he says, babe, you're overreacting. She just wants to help. It's temporary. And she did raise us. So what, now I don't know how to raise my own child because I didn't pop out 3 boys in the 90s. I feel like I'm losing my mind. My house doesn't even feel like mine anymore. She drops by without calling. Rearranges stuff in the nursery. Once I came home and she had washed my breast pump parts and moved them to her own cabinet. Who even does that? My husband keeps saying I should be grateful. That other people wish they had this kind of help. But honestly, it doesn't feel like help. It feels like someone trying to replace me, while my own partner stands there doing nothing. So yeah. I said I'm not living under her roof. And now I'm the problem. She's pissed. He's cold. I'm sleep deprived, overwhelmed, and second-guessing everything. All I want is to raise my child in peace. In my own space. With my own rules. So I finally asked him, whose family are we building here? Yours and hers or ours? Now everyone's mad. But tell me, stories number 28. Aita for telling my MIL to stop controlling what we buy for our home. I'm 24, recently married, and trying really hard to build a home with my husband. We just moved into a small rental a few months ago. It's not fancy, but it's ours, well, supposedly. Here's the thing. His mom lives nearby and acts like she still runs our house. Like, full-on CEO energy. Every time I try to buy something for the place, literally anything, she butts in. Curtains. Too dark. Plates. Don't match the kitchen. I once bought a laundry basket and she said it was a waste of money because we could just use the old one from her house. At first, I let it slide. I told myself, she means well. But it just kept getting worse. One weekend, I used my own money to buy a small table and a few kitchen supplies from the market. Stuff we honestly needed. My husband was okay with it. I was happy. Then she came over. Looked at the stuff and went, who told you that you could buy that? I'm the one in charge of the things here. She basically told me I don't get to decide what we put in our own house. Like, what? I lost it. Not yelling, not screaming, but I told her very clearly that she needs to stop. That she has her own house, her own furniture, her own decisions. This one's ours now. Mine and my husband's. We're not her roommates. We're adults. And I need her to respect that. She went silent for a second. Then said I was disrespecting her and stepping out of line. She told my husband I'm being controlling and ungrateful. And now he's weird about it. He's not taking sides, just keeps saying, let's not make it a big deal. But it is a big deal. I feel like I'm constantly being told I'm out of place in my own home. I'm walking on eggshells in a space that's supposed to be safe. I don't even want to buy a mug anymore without second guessing. I don't know. I feel like I snapped because I'd had enough. But maybe I was too harsh. Maybe I should have waited and let my husband handle it. But he wasn't handling it. He never does when it comes to her. So now I'm here. Second guessing myself. Again. I told my MIL to stop deciding what we buy for our house, and that it's our space, not hers. I stood my ground, but she called me disrespectful and now my husband's acting weird. Stories number 29. I bruised the bananas to prove a point. I, 47F, have a routine when I buy bananas, and this story is about bananas and my master plan to prove a point. My stepson, 21M, is a nice person, a sweet kid, and we have a great relationship, but some things he does bug the crap out of me and sometimes I just feel petty. This is one of those times. I make a lot of smoothies and fruit salads, so I use lots of fruit, and I buy fresh fruit and vegetables every few days. My routine with bananas is buying almost ripe ones, using up most of them, and then buying some green ones so by the time I need them they are ripe enough without getting to the banana bread stage. This was working until my stepson decided that he wanted to eat healthier and asked if he could start eating the bananas. I didn't care so I started buying extra so he could indulge. I also let him know to eat the ripe ones before eating the not quite ripe ones, so I don't have overripe bananas. Well, the boy did not adhere to this. He was eating the barely ripe ones and leaving the ripe ones to get too ripe. He claims that any banana with a black spot is no good and is bruised on the inside and so he won't eat them. I explained to him that a brown spot does not mean there will be a bruise on the inside, and we are talking about the small black spots. He does not believe me, so I hatch an idea. Next time I buy bananas I press my thumb into them and run my nails along them to make sure they have black spots once they start to ripen. Next time the boy goes for one he comments that they all have spots, I tell him they did not have any green ones, so this is what we got. He ate one and then realized that I was right, that a banana with a spot is edible. He will never know that I am in fact the mastermind behind the banana spots. Insert evil laugh. Edit, it is not a taste thing, when he was younger he would have thrown away a banana with any bruises or black spots. If he liked to eat green or almost green bananas for taste or texture, I get it and would not pick on him. Or if he bought his own I would not touch them or mess with him. Stories number 30. Aita for not checking what swimsuit of mine my niece chose to wear. She's 13 and she picked a very adult swimsuit. Okay, so here's what happened. My older brother, his wife, and their 3 kids came to visit me from out of town. There's a heat wave going on here and we all decided on an impromptu beach day. I'm 24F, my niece is 13. My brother is the oldest child and I'm the youngest if you guessed. Everyone else had their swimsuit because they had contemplated going to a water park on the way home. Niece forgot hers. My brother's wife asked if niece could just borrow one of mine. I model swimsuits and I have a drawer filled with a few dozen. I said sure, niece can pick one out. I'm a lot bigger and bustier than niece, obviously, but a lot of my bikinis could just be tied tighter to fit a smaller frame, so I figured she could just make something work. I showed her my drawer, told her to try on a few and figure out something that fits her. I left her alone for some privacy. She came out with her clothes on, said she put a swimsuit on underneath. I said okay, sounds good. We get to the beach and it's very crowded. A military town so the beach was filled with young Marines. Turns out niece picked a very risque swimsuit. My brother and his wife were both pissed off at me, and said I should have approved whatever swimsuit she picked, or only gave her age-appropriate ones. I told him that it's something they should have done as they're the parents. I'm not her mom. How was I supposed to know they raised their daughter to think it's okay to pick what she did for a family day? When I said that they were infuriated, it didn't help that both me and niece got hit on a ton at the beach, which was gross because she does look her age. She's 13 and grown men were approaching her. She's not one of those teenagers that can pass for an adult. Anyways, I feel awkward. My brothers and his wife both have been pissy with me. Aita. Or should they have checked instead? Stories number 31. Aita for asking my editor for a full refund after she completed the work. One of my jobs is writing short stories online. I've been really fortunate there and recently hit a spot financially where I could hire an editor. Because I do have a full-time job besides writing, I felt like it was a good investment to make sure I had time to write without being worried about editing. I talked about this with one of my college friends and she volunteered to do it for me for a discounted price, about 20% below market rate from what I've seen online. She's trying to build an editing career and said the discount would be fine if I allowed her to use some of my work in her portfolio. That was in January. I expected my followers to notice an increase in quality in my work, but it's hard to say if they actually did. I haven't received any comments about it nor have I gotten any new followers. That could be because I don't do well marketing though. The problem is that she recently got some new clients which I initially thought was great. I took her out to celebrate her new contracts last week. I asked her if she was worried about taking on 3 new clients so close together and she said she wasn't since she could run her programs on one while she read through the other. Long story short, I found out she's been using AI to edit almost all of her projects, including mine. I am strictly anti-AI, especially in the writing space. I've talked about it pretty openly and it's all over my page and in my post history. I asked for a full refund for everything she's edited of mine using AI. I don't think I was very diplomatic about it, we were splitting a bottle of wine. I told her that I paid her to edit my work and she didn't. I pointed out that my followers would be upset if they found out my work was created using AI and that she'd harmed my business by not disclosing her methods. We fought and left on bad terms. She texted me that night that she was an editor. During our argument, I told her she wasn't, and AI is a tool that she uses for a first pass, but she is the one who does the final pass. She said that she wouldn't refund any of my money because she was doing it at a loss anyway, but that I could consider our working relationship and friendship at an end. I don't think she was working at a loss, she's the one who offered to do it for below market rate, but it's not like I was paying her minimum wage. Plus, by using AI she completed the work faster than my estimate and therefore got paid more than she actually worked. But she made it sound like if she gave me a refund, she'd be like an artist working for exposure. I'm expecting this to hit our friend group soon, if it hasn't already, and I really want to hear if I'm the asshole or not for asking for a full refund before I hear it from them. So Aita for asking my editor for a full refund after she completed the work. Stories number 32. Aita for refusing to change one of my family therapy made rules/boundaries. Me, 16M, and my sister, 15F, lost our mom 7 years ago and 3 years ago our dad got married again. My dad married Carrie. Carrie has 3 kids 10M, 8F and 4M. Carrie's older 2 kids' dad is in prison and her youngest's dad didn't want to know. The youngest consider my dad his dad since he basically knows him his whole life. Me and my sister weren't happy when dad told us he wanted to marry Carrie. We didn't act out but we were sad and I withdrew a bit so my dad decided we needed family therapy with him and Carrie and her older 2 kids before they got married. Lots of stuff was talked about and the therapist asked us each to come up with 3 to 5 rules or boundaries that we wanted to insist on for us to make things work. Mine were, I didn't want to share a bedroom with the boys. I wanted to be able to talk about mom still, spend Mother's Day with my mom's side of the family and have photos of mom at home still. Dad still makes time for just me and him. And I can have time with just my sister too. I'll treat Carrie like an aunt or something but she won't be my mom or my parent and her kids will be my step-siblings but I'll say step and not just siblings. Rule 4 was talked about the most. I was asked how that should look and I said dad should still do stuff for me like he did after mom died and Carrie didn't need to take it all over. Carrie said she agreed and if she wasn't going to be treated like a parent then she would rather be more of an aunt figure. Dad said that was good with him. My dad and Carrie got married after we had 5 months of therapy and things were going fine. We had some boundary/rule issues. Carrie's oldest wanted to share a room with me a few times instead of his younger brother and my dad and Carrie tried to push that a little more but it worked out. My sister had the same rule but for Carrie's daughter and again dad and Carrie tried to push but they backed down on that too. There was a Mother's Day issue last year too but nothing super awful. Carrie's family were having a big party and dad and Carrie wanted us to go but we wanted to be with our mom's side. A month ago my dad told me and my sister we were going back to therapy for a bit and he didn't say why. Our first appointment back was 2 weeks ago and my dad and Carrie said they wanted to change some of the rules/boundaries. Carrie doesn't like not being a parent to me, and my sister. She said she has really come to love us and that we get along well enough that she thinks it would be better for everyone if we could call her and dad our parents and if she could be given the chance to prove herself to be a good third parent to us. My dad said he wanted that for us too. That we don't feel like a traditional family. The therapist asked them questions on their feelings and they answered them. Then she asked me how I felt. I told her / them I didn't want to change that. I said I don't want Carrie to be my third parent and I like things how they are. My sister said she felt the same but that she wanted to add a rule about her not being assigned homework helper just because she's got great grades and finds school and learning easy. It was talked about again last week and again yesterday. My dad and Carrie are mad that I won't change the rule / boundary and that I'm refusing to see their side or whatever. Stories number 33. Aita for pushing away my homemade birthday cake. I, 31F, had my birthday party this past weekend. It was a small group of close friends including Julie, 29F. Julie loves baking and so as my present, she baked my birthday cake. The problem is, it was a Black Forest cake. I have a mild allergy to cocoa powder where even the smell makes me sick and if I ingest any, I will vomit. I say mild since I've never gone to the doctor for a proper diagnosis, yay American healthcare system. Here's where I might be the AH. When she put the cake in front of me, the smell of chocolate hit me. I pushed it away and asked, "What the fuck is this?" while covering my nose from the smell. It's not a secret in my friend group that I don't do chocolate. Whenever we go out for dinner, probably once or twice a month, I always double-check for chocolate in a dessert. Julie claimed to have forgotten about my issues with chocolate, but I find it hard to believe. As do a few of my friends that I talked to after the party. Julie ended up leaving in tears shortly after the cake came out and I sent the cake home with another friend. Neither one of us has reached out to the other since. Some of my friends are saying I was the AH for my reaction, but I think it's incredibly rude to bring a cake to someone's birthday party that they can't eat. So Aita Reddit, a lot of people are offended at my language. I do want to clarify that my friends group consists of service industry folks and I myself work in a dive bar. Curse words are our vernacular. I do understand that it doesn't totally justify my response and I will reach out to Julia tomorrow to apologize and thank her for taking the effort to bake it. Update, I called Julie this morning and apologized for my reaction. I explained that I have an aversion to chocolate and she must have forgotten. She said. And I quote. "Oh I know, but I wanted to make a Black Forest cake for my blog. I saw a design on Etsy that used cherries in chocolate shards and wanted to recreate it. I asked her why she wouldn't bake a different cake or just pick one up. I could have even Venmo'd her for it. She said she ran out of time after posting and figured everyone else liked chocolate so it would be fine. I pointed out that it was my birthday and it's pretty rude to make a cake she knows I won't eat, let alone one that will make me sick. She just reiterated that she needed the content. The conversation really wasn't productive after that, so I guess I'm at least a bit of an AH for my initial reaction and Julie is just a fucking bitch. C'est la vie. Stories number 34. Bride's sister stole money from the bride, gets caught on camera and posted on a local Instagram blog account. I was a bridesmaid at this wedding. It was an African wedding where it is culturally expected and accepted to shower the bride and groom with money. Trying not to give too much away by mentioning specific country. Bride already had designated little cousins who were responsible for picking up and holding on to the money till the end of the ceremony. If you've ever seen one of these ceremonies, you know how chaotic things can get on the dance floors. At the end of the night, we all gather to help bride and groom sort and count the money. We all quickly realize there's way less money in the bags than we anticipated. At first we assumed people just didn't spend as much, but the bridal assistant insisted the money should have been much more. The cousins were asked about it, they claim bride's older sister kept taking money from their big collection bags and putting it in hers. Bride insists she specifically told her sister not to have anything to do with the money. Sister is asked and she swears up and down she didn't touch it, accuses cousins of being thieves. Next day, videos start getting posted on this blog-like Instagram page that showcases local weddings. One of those videos clearly shows sister grabbing multiple handfuls of money from cousin and putting it in a duffel bag the bride didn't even know she had. One of the other bridesmaids put sister on blast in the comments section. Sister replies and blames it on bride. Claims bride should have helped her financially instead of wasting money on such a lavish wedding for a marriage that won't last anyway. Makes multiple posts on her page basically saying the same thing. Says bride is irresponsible and selfish and she, sister, deserves that money for putting up with the bride's bratty and disrespectful attitude towards her elders. Stories number 35. My MIL admitted she thinks I should have let my husband die. My husband has been battling some severe mental health issues in the past 6 months and I've been doing everything I can to help him. A couple months ago he lost his job after having panic attacks at work and it wasn't safe. So I was the sole provider, then lost my job to layoffs. Slowly we were getting behind on bills but I was scrapping us by with small savings and I got a new job, with a pay cut though. Well, about a month ago he attempted an UNA living and we checked him in for inpatient mental health care. He's been making a lot of progress and is home now and we have a plan to move forward. I'm so glad, but I'm so exhausted. And we're overdue on bills by about $1,500. So I swallowed my pride and reached out to my mother-in-law, asking if there was any chance of getting a loan just to catch back up and avoid eviction. She recently sold her paid-off house and has been constantly talking about how nice it is to have zero debt and so much money in the bank, very showy, it's in her personality. She knew what happened with my husband and that he's been struggling. When I asked her, she said she could afford to give us the money. But that she wouldn't. I wasn't going to pry, but she could see my defeat because I was hopeful of getting some relief. So she explained and I was appalled. She said that I wouldn't be having these issues if I didn't intervene with what he wanted to do, and that it was selfish of me to stop him. She didn't understand why I would want to because I would get his life insurance and could move on. All I could say was that I was disgusted with her and I walked away. At first I was planning on taking that to the grave, but it's been constantly replaying in my head and I feel sick every time I look at my husband and think of what she said. How could she say that about her own son? I can't tell him, but how do I keep him away from her without telling him? Do I tell his therapist so he knows and can navigate some mom issues? I'm just at a loss and I can't bottle it up anymore. If anyone has advice, I'd be so grateful. Stories number 36. AITJ for going no contact with my husband after he yelled at me to leave. Last weekend, my husband, 35, and I, 32, got into an argument over something dumb. He was upset that I didn't defrost the chicken because he mentioned it twice earlier in the day. I told him I genuinely forgot and that I was dealing with a stressful work deadline. He kept pushing it, saying I never listen and that I always have some excuse. The argument escalated fast. He stood up, raised his voice, and told me, "You know what? Just get out of the house if you're not going to contribute anything." I was stunned. We've had arguments before, but he's never told me to leave. I asked if he was serious, and he said, "Yes. Go stay somewhere else until you learn to respect what I do around here." So I left. I packed a bag, got in my car, and drove to my sister's. That was 5 days ago. I haven't responded to his calls or texts. At first, he was angry, then apologetic, then angry again. Now he's saying I'm being dramatic and immature for not coming home or talking to him. He says he didn't actually mean it, that people say things in the heat of the moment, and that I'm punishing him over one sentence. But that sentence cut deep. He told me to leave our home. I feel like something cracked inside me when he said it. I don't know how to just brush that off. My sister thinks I'm doing the right thing by taking space. A friend of mine says I'm being too extreme and that if I care about my marriage, I should talk to him. But I'm tired of being told that his words and actions don't count just because he regrets them later. Stories number 37. My mom made me feel like a monster for not paying for my sister's abortion. I'm 27M. I have a half-sister who's 21F. We share the same mom. She got pregnant a few months ago and immediately called me in tears, saying she couldn't go through with it and that her boyfriend bailed. I comforted her, asked her what she needed, and she said she'd decided to terminate. I told her I'd help however I could, but I couldn't cover the full cost. I just bought a used car and I'm trying to dig out of credit card debt. She asked if I could at least loan her $500. I didn't have it, and I told her that honestly. Next day, my mom calls and lays into me. Says I abandoned my sister when she needed me most, that I claim to be a feminist, but let a young woman suffer, and that I clearly don't care about family. I tried to explain my finances and she literally said, "You just didn't want to help." What pisses me off the most is, I did want to help. But I couldn't. And somehow that turned me into the villain of everyone's story. They ended up getting the money from someone else, and now they're acting like I'm radioactive. My sister hasn't spoken to me in over a month. I'm just so tired of being the older brother when it's convenient and the punching bag when it's not. Stories number 38. How is it legal for a law firm to keep garnishing my wages when they can't even prove it's me? And I live in a different state. I've been getting money taken from my checks every week from a garnishment that was filed in East Baton Rouge Parish, Louisiana, where I lived a minor, by Discover and this law firm. I don't even live there. I live in Michigan. I've never been summoned, never received any court notice, and I only found out when ADP emailed me randomly saying my wages would be garnished. I've called ADP, I've called the law firm. ADP told me I need to get a court order to stop the garnishment, but when I called the law firm, they said they can't do anything and that even now they can't even speak to me and that I have to wait for the investigation, which could take up to a month. Meanwhile, they keep taking money from me every single week. The craziest part is the file they have is for someone with the same name as me, but a senior. I'm only 21 years old. I only opened my first credit cards last year. I've filed for identity theft for the cards that weren't mine. They have the wrong address on file. It's clearly a mistaken identity, and they even admitted they can't find me in their system. But they're still taking my money while they look into it. How is this even legal? How can they keep taking money when they haven't proved it's actually me? No court summons, no due process, and I'm in a completely different state. Edit, additional info, the garnishment amount is between $4,000 and $5,000, I can't remember the exact amount, but it's definitely at least $4,000. I've contacted corporate HR 2 or 3 times now, and it's almost impossible to reach the garnishment department. They're either on break for hours so the line hangs up, or I get stuck in this automated loop that always takes me to ADP. The law firm refuses to talk to me since it's under investigation, so they claim they're not allowed to discuss anything with me. I'm also sure the date of birth doesn't match, I can't recall their exact words, but they basically say the person they have isn't the same age as me. Stories number 39. AITH for defending my daughter for saying, my uterus hurts. Our college daughters are home for the summer. We have 2 girls and 1 son. This afternoon my daughter walked into the house and said, "Bruh, my uterus hurts so bad. She is on her period and has terrible cramps." No big deal. I was going up to shower and I hear my husband say, "I don't want to hear that." I was super surprised and said to our daughter, "You can totally say that." My husband was upset and I admit I have snapped and said, "She can totally say that." He was really upset and said it was inappropriate to say, uterus. I think an anatomically correct word is totally okay to say. He said, "Would you say that to your dad?" Admittedly I wouldn't say that to my 84-year-old father and commented that times have changed and I had hoped he would be more up with the times. On a side note, when he had a kidney stone a few years ago and was in severe pain, my daughter and I were tending to him, had to call an ambulance, he was screaming his balls hurt. I mentioned how that could be considered the same, when you are in pain, and that isn't an anatomically correct word, like uterus, but no big deal, we understood the pain was intense. He said that was totally different because his pain was so severe. So tell me, AITH. Stories number 40. Aita for telling my parents I'm not the backup child and refusing to take over my brother's future. So I, 16M, have an older brother, 19M, who was like the golden child growing up. Straight A's, varsity, honor roll, all that stuff. My parents basically shaped their whole lives around his success, college savings, private tutors, weekend review centers, all of it. Then, he crashed and burned. Got a girl pregnant, dropped out, and now he's working random jobs and living back at home. It sucks, yeah, but like. I get it, life happens. But ever since then, my parents have started shoving all their expectations on me. Suddenly I'm being told I need to take nursing, because it's safe, even though I've said a million times I want to do something in media or design. They pulled me out of the art elective I loved and now I'm doing advanced science I didn't even sign up for. Last week, they said they were reallocating my kuyas and used college funds to put me through the same school they picked for him. Not asking me. Just straight up told me, "You're our only shot now. You have to make it." I snapped. I said, "I'm not your second chance. I'm your son, not your backup plan." My mom started crying. My dad got quiet and said I was being ungrateful and that I should feel lucky they're even trying to help. Now the house is super tense and my kuya texted me like, "Bro, just do what they say. You'll thank them later." But I don't want their version of my future. I just want to live my own. Aita for rejecting the life they planned for me even though they're just trying to help after everything fell apart. Stories number 41. Our family movie night tradition is dead and I couldn't be happier. A few years ago, I started doing weekly family movie nights to spend more time together. It sounded wholesome, and honestly, it was at first. We'd make popcorn, pile up on the couch, and take turns picking movies. The kids were excited. I was excited. It felt like we were doing something right, but slowly it became a chore. The kids would fight over which movie to watch. Someone always hated the pick. They'd get bored 20 minutes in and start bickering or playing on their phones. I'd end up frustrated, sitting there alone watching some random animated sequel I didn't even like. Meanwhile, I was stressing about work stuff I was ignoring just to keep this tradition alive. So this spring, after yet another failed movie night where everyone ended up storming off, I just stopped. I didn't announce it. I just didn't bring it up again. And nobody noticed. Not even once, and honestly, it's been great. We still hang out, just more naturally. Sometimes we play board games. Sometimes we take walks. Sometimes we all do our own thing and that's okay too. I'm not forcing quality time anymore just because I saw it on Pinterest. Edit. If weekly movie night works for your family, that's amazing. Keep doing what brings you joy. But if it's become another checkbox in a never-ending list of things that are supposed to make you a good parent, let it go. You're allowed to outgrow traditions. Your kids won't remember every themed night, they'll remember how you made them feel. And I'd rather be present and relaxed than stressed and pretending. Stories number 42. Aita for telling my mom I don't forgive her for choosing her boyfriend over me when I was a kid. When I was 12, my mom started dating a guy who clearly didn't like me. He was always cold, made snide comments, and treated me like I was in the way. I told my mom how uncomfortable I felt, but she always defended him and told me I was exaggerating. Eventually, she stopped picking me up from school if it interfered with his plans. I spent a lot of nights at my aunt's house just to avoid being home. By the time I was 15, I moved in with my dad full-time. My mom barely called or checked in. She married the guy a year later. I wasn't invited to the wedding. I didn't even know it happened until a cousin mentioned it. I stopped trying after that. We went years without speaking, until recently when she reached out saying she wants to rebuild things. We met for coffee, and she started talking like we were just going to pick up where we left off. I told her I can be polite, but I don't forgive her. I said she made her choice back then and it wasn't me. She started crying and said I was being unfair. She said she was trying her best. I said maybe, but your best hurt me. Now she says I'm cold and holding on to the past, and some relatives agree. But I don't feel like she ever took real responsibility. So am I the asshole for not letting it go, Aita? Stories number 43. Hire her, no matter what, as you wish. I am part of a small hiring team at my workplace and I take my position very seriously. Some time ago we were looking to fill a key role that required someone sharp, organized, and ready to work under pressure. We had a solid shortlist after several interviews and then my department supervisor pulled me aside. He told me, flat out, to hire one candidate in particular. Not because she was the best fit but because he wanted me to. I later heard through office rumors that she was an almost girlfriend, basically someone he had a thing for and was trying to impress. He said I should but just make it work and he will take the heat if needed. I refused at first, showing him her results of the interview. She was one of the least ranked. She was late to the interview, vague answers, couldn't explain basic industry terms. But he wouldn't listen and said it was a direct order. So, I did exactly what he asked. I hired her. Gave her all the support I could. Even offered extra onboarding help. Within a month, she accidentally sent a confidential client file to the wrong company. Then she once approved a purchase order for 10x the budgeted amount because she obviously didn't read through all those numbers. It was from one wrong to another. We lost a major client over the email slip. Another pulled back on their contract due to delays on her end. When upper management started asking questions, my manager tried to dodge responsibility. But HR already had the hiring records. I made sure all instructions including his were documented, which was intentionally in case a situation like this came up, and it did. He was reassigned within the quarter. She quietly disappeared not long after. Turns out, hiring your crush isn't as cute when the company starts bleeding money. Stories number 44. He refused to go shopping for dress clothes, so he ended up in my old suit. I'm not sure if this fits in this sub because I didn't really have much to do for it. This happened when me and my cousin were 14. My aunt was visiting us over dinner, and she started complaining about an upcoming wedding of her husband's family they were invited to. Fancy venue, big family event and all that. And my cousin absolutely refused to go shopping with her for a nice outfit. He was some kind of a skater/emo hybrid at this time, so fancy clothes were literally a nightmare for him. He told my aunt he'd wear jeans and a black shirt or he wouldn't go at all. She was visibly annoyed and mentioned that she tried 3 times to convince him to go buy nicer clothes with her because these were too casual, and how tired she was of his attitude, and that she was considering pulling some kind of parental power move to force him into proper clothes. I told my aunt that I had a nice suit in my closet and it might fit him if he kept refusing to go shopping. I suggested she take it as a backup plan, just in case he stayed stubborn. She agreed and my parents also agreed. About half a year earlier, I had to wear this black suit with a white shirt and a bow tie to a different family event. He mocked me, said I looked like a toddler dressed by his mom in this outfit and that he would never wear such a suit. I was annoyed, but there wasn't really anything I could say back then. So this was also an opportunity for revenge. And my cousin, reliable as always, held his ground until the bitter end. No shopping, no compromise. Fine. So his demand was fulfilled. He was never dragged to the mall to go suit shopping. Wedding day comes. My cousin, staying true to his word, refused every shopping trip. Never clarified that he won't wear a suit at all, only that they're not buying one for him. So when he still had nothing to wear the morning of the wedding, they pulled out my old suit. I would have loved to be there myself, but at least I saw the photos. My cousin, grumpy in my old suit with the slightly too tight white shirt and the bow tie. During the day I kept picturing him sulking and quietly stewing in my suit and regretting every decision that led him there, and every time I thought of him that day, it put a big smile on my face. Stories number 45. Refused to invest in my cousin's business idea. Now my aunt says I'm selfish for not helping family. It's been quite a journey, and I've been soaking up all the stories and advice here. Now I find myself in a situation where I could really use some outside perspectives. So, I'm a 30-year-old guy working in IT, and I make a decent living. I'm not rolling in cash or anything, but I've been pretty careful with my money over the years. I graduated with student loan debt, spent way too long living in cheap apartments, and drove my old Civic until it barely ran. Slowly but surely, I built up my savings and emergency fund. I finally bought a modest home last year, which is nothing fancy, and I still live pretty simply. I don't post flashy vacations or talk about money much, but I guess word gets around in the family when you buy a house and stop stressing over bills. Recently, my cousin Brandon, who's 33, reached out to me. He wanted to talk about a business opportunity. We're not super close. We see each other at family events and follow each other on Instagram, but we don't hang out regularly. Still, I figured he wanted some advice or maybe to network. Well, turns out I was wrong. He pitched this idea for a food truck that would sell what he called elevated fare food. Think deep-fried mac and cheese balls, gourmet corn dogs, and loaded funnel cakes. I'll admit, I laughed a little. Not in a mean way, but because it came out of nowhere, and I honestly thought he was joking. But nope, he was dead serious. He said it was his dream and he'd been thinking about it for years but just never had the cash to get it going. Then he dropped this on me. I figured maybe you'd want to help me out. Like an investor. I asked what that meant, and he said he needed about $15,000 for equipment and permits. So I asked if he had a business plan, any numbers, projections, or anything like that. He said no, not yet, but he knew this would pop off. He had watched every season of Shark Tank and felt confident he knew what customers wanted. I told him I wasn't comfortable handing over that kind of money, especially without a clear plan. I wasn't rude. I respected his hustle, but I've worked really hard to get to a stable place, and I'm trying to save for the future, not play angel investor for family. He went quiet for a moment and then said something like, "Damn, I thought you'd be more generous than that." A few days later, I got a call from his mom, my aunt, and she was not happy. She said Brandon felt humiliated and that I made him feel small. I told her I was polite but that I just don't loan out big chunks of money. She called me selfish and said family should support each other, especially when they're in a position to help. Then she hit me with the kicker. She said, "It's not like you'd miss that money. You're doing fine." I reminded her that I get to decide what to do with the money I worked hard for. She said I've changed since getting a good job and that Brandon is just trying to do something with his life. I pointed out that this is the first time I've ever said no to anyone in the family financially, and now I'm the bad guy. My mom, who's his aunt on the other side, told me she understood why I said no but suggested I could have offered something small just to support him a little. Honestly, I don't want to set that precedent. Once money gets involved in family dynamics, it never ends well. Now, Brandon hasn't spoken to me since, and apparently, he told my uncle I crushed his dream for no reason. Aita for refusing to give my cousin $15,000 for a business idea I don't believe in, even though I technically could afford it. Stories number 46. I, 28M, received the wildest out-of-the-blue news from the mother of my ex, 27F, today. How would you respond? Context: I, 28M, dated a woman, 27F, now ex, for a couple years long time ago. She lives in a neighbor country but her dad is a millionaire in a northern nuclear superpower country and don't live with her and her mother. We have had no contacts whatsoever for greater than 4 years. Yesterday evening, I received a video from my ex's mother of said ex doing her wedding dance. Smoke machine, firework and stupid expensive stuff behind. Then, 4 hours later she doubled up and sent me a text, "Ex name, is getting married." What on earth would you respond to her mother? Also side question, I wonder if she sent to make me jealous, to share the positive news, out of spite, like see what you miss, or else. But I guess we can't really know that. Small clarification since I see it in several comments. It's quite unlikely she got the wrong address, since it was WhatsApp, with my picture, and sent the text 4 hours later and somehow I can see her doing that. P.S. It doesn't really affect me, I care very little, don't live in the same country. Stories number 47. Aita for moving out and leaving my cousin with the rent. My dad owns 2 houses, the one he lives in, and one left to him by his grandparents. My older sister, Carrie, F26, and I, F24, rent the other house. We've lived there for almost 2 years. A few months ago, my sister and I, with our parents' permission, asked one of our cousins, Mary, F24, to move in as we have an extra room. Mary was going through a hard time and had just gotten divorced and had no place to stay. She moved in shortly after. All 3 of us pay an equal amount of rent. Shortly after Mary moved in, she started essentially harassing my sister and I, trying to get us to go to church with her, as she is a devout evangelical Christian. She would try to guilt-trip us and make comments anytime we did something sinful, and even though we asked her to stop multiple times, she didn't. It eventually got so bad that my sister and I told Mary that if she didn't stop bringing up religion completely, we were going to have to ask her to find somewhere else to live as she was creating a hostile environment. Mary told her dad that we threatened her, and her dad told my mom, who said we were not allowed to kick Mary out as she is family and just wants what is best for us. Mary got even worse after this, and Carrie and I began to notice that she was throwing away our stuff that she thought was demonic, which is what pushed us over the edge. Carrie and I secretly looked for somewhere else to live, and we ended up finding a new place that we can actually buy. We decided to do it, and broke the news to Mary, as we will be leaving in about 2 weeks. Mary freaked the fuck out since she can't afford to rent the house on her own, and told our parents. My dad says we're allowed to do what we want, but my mom is super angry, saying we are leaving Mary to live on the street, and a bunch of BS about how we've let the devil get to us. Are me and my sister assholes? I feel a little bad for Mary but also feel like she deserves it. Stories number 48. Yes sir, you're the lawyer sir. This happened many years ago but I was just reminded of it last night by a former coworker. I got my degree in business with a paralegal minor. Worked as a paralegal for a few years before moving to a new city. Upon arriving in new city I found that legal secretaries got paid OT while paralegals didn't, and with very similar base salaries and similar work hours. At the end of the day the legal secretaries made more money. So I took a job as a legal secretary. I worked directly for 2 attorneys. One, L, had a couple years experience, knew I had education and experience to be a paralegal and utilized me as such. Other, B, was fresh out of law school and newly passed bar exam. He had a massive "I'm the lawyer" chip on his shoulder. One day named partner, NP, who was notorious for flying off the handle at mistakes, assigns B to prepare some legal documents. Instead of saying, hey NP needs documents on this file to handle this issue, and having me do them, he takes the time to actually dictate the documents. As I'm working on them I realize he's made a logistical mistake. He drafted the document in a way that would result in it not being legally enforceable. I go to his office and explain, hey I was working on this and I noticed X and that's not how that works. You need to have it do Y instead or it won't be enforceable. He says, I know what I'm doing and that's the way it needs to be done, so just do it as I dictated it. Yep, of course, absolutely. I did it his way, reminded him when I handed it to him that we'd had prior conversation and that I'd completed the document exactly as he'd wanted it. He happily nods and off he goes to NP to give him the finished work. Less than 30 minutes later NP is in B's office doorway throwing a hissy fit. That document was prepared that way. You can't do that. You've literally made this document worthless, blah blah blah. I sat out in my cube and hid behind a piece of paper while NP told me to prepare the document exactly how I told him it needed to be prepared. I wish I could say that going forward B listened to me when I raised concerns, but he only lasted a year and in that time never lost the "I'm the lawyer you're not" attitude. Meanwhile, years after I left that job, joined corporate world and moved up in my career, I was still close with NP, who actually referred my company business, and I attended his funeral when he passed a few years ago. Stories number 49. AIO girlfriend wants me to pay all the bills. I 26M and my GF 25F are looking to get an apartment, but we live in HCOL area so prices are pretty crazy. We have found a place for $2K a month, 1 bed/1 bath, and it's just us so we don't need much more. I currently make $90K and she makes $50K, so I thought a split of 70/30 or 80/20 was fair. I fortunately don't have any college debt and I live with my parents who only charge me $500 for rent, thankfully. My only other monthly expenses right now are my car payment, insurance, gym membership, which is $550 altogether. Her response to that split actually shook me though. She said, so are we just roommates now? She also mentioned something saying if I actually cared to bring in more money in for us I would get a second job. I told her that would not be necessary if she was willing to contribute to our expenses, and that if she did we would not be living paycheck to paycheck. I think the issue for her is she was fortunate to have had her parents provide her with everything growing up, so maybe she does not like the idea of being responsible for expenses. It's been 2 days and we have not spoken since that conversation. I don't even know what to say. I would have no problem covering all of our expenses if I was able to, but unfortunately I can't. Am I in the wrong for bringing up that split? I see no issue with it considering I make almost double what she makes. Stories number 50. Whipped for refusing to split the cost of a hotel room for my boyfriend's cousin's wedding. I, 20F, have been dating my boyfriend, 24M, for a little over a year. He was recently invited to his cousin's wedding, which is a few hours away and requires an overnight stay. He booked a hotel room for the night and expects me to split the cost of it with him. I've never met this cousin, or most of his extended family, and I wasn't even invited to the wedding myself. He's going as a guest, and I'm tagging along as his plus one. I'm currently a full-time college student and I only have a part-time seasonal job in the summer, that I use to pay for myself during college. He, on the other hand, works full-time and makes more than I do. I told him I couldn't afford to help pay for the hotel, and he seemed annoyed, saying it's only fair since we're both staying there. I get that we usually try to split things evenly when we go out or travel, but this just feels different. This isn't my family or my event, and I wouldn't be going at all if it weren't for him. I honestly feel uncomfortable being expected to help pay for something I didn't ask for and really can't afford right now. He's not being mean about it, but he's clearly frustrated with me, and now I'm wondering if I'm being unreasonable or selfish. So, AITA for refusing to split the cost of the hotel room. Edit. Forgot to include this, but ideally I wouldn't go as I can't pay, but he has already booked the room under the pretense that I would be going, without my knowledge. Now there is an issue that he is saying he won't go if I don't go, which to me is unreasonable as it's his family. Stories number 51. Am I overreacting, or was this super messed up? Whoa. I posted this as I was going to bed last night with only the hope of having a couple unbiased people tell me if I was being super sensitive. Let me answer a few questions. Did my family notice I was gone/reach out? Yes, my dad called me right after I left and my mom called me about 2 hours later. Both understood my reason for leaving but both tried to talk me into sucking it up and coming back. By the time mom called I was in my jam so I definitely wasn't coming back. I would also like to add that I've only had Reddit for a short while and this was my first post, so I forgot to do the age thing. I am 32F and sister is 30F. I haven't been overweight my whole life, it seems like I turned 25 and everything started sticking to me. My mom, dad, sister and older brother are all slim. Sorry I didn't add those details, I was trying to keep this as short as possible. Also I get extremely overwhelmed by loads of comments so I probably won't come back for a while. Thanks for validating me. I may update when or if we talk. I don't want to lose my sister over this, I just want her to acknowledge it was wrong. TLDR, my sister sat me at a table specifically reserved for overweight people at her wedding reception under the guise of body positivity. So my sister got married last weekend. I was a bridesmaid. I helped her plan stuff, I went to all the things, I paid for my dress, hair, makeup, the whole 9 yards. I didn't complain, I showed up early, I did what I was supposed to do because I wanted her day to go well. Anyway, we get to the reception and I go to find my table, and I swear to God, the little name card says, Weight Watchers. Not like a cute table name or a funny inside joke, just, Weight Watchers. I thought maybe I misread it or something but nope. I look around and realize everyone at the table is plus size. All of us. Every single person there. I pulled my sister aside and asked her what the hell that was about and she literally laughed. She goes, "Oh my God, don't be so sensitive, I just thought it'd be more comfortable if people were with others like them. It's a body positive thing." Girl, what? How is putting all the bigger people at one table body positive? It felt more like, hide the fat guests in the corner so they don't ruin the aesthetic. I was mortified. So I left. I didn't make a big scene, I just quietly grabbed my gift and dipped. It's been 5 days and she hasn't reached out, nor have I, but she is on her honeymoon so I don't expect to hear from her for a few more days. Maybe I'll be over it by then, but my feelings are legit so hurt right now. So, am I overreacting? Or was that straight up rude and humiliating? Also, I wore Spanx for 4 hours and I want compensation. Stories number 52. AITA for not apologizing to my coworker for an assumption she made about something trivial. So I, 22M, work at Food Basics as a grocery clerk since May 1st, with my main duties including stocking, conditioning, and pushing carts. I have a coworker, 20F, who has worked in my department way before me. When we were working together in the same aisle, I initiated small talk maybe 2 to 3 times, but she didn't respond that well, so I stopped talking to her. Fast forward to today, we were stocking in the same aisle for 2 hours, but neither of us talked, we just continued working. After 2 hours, another coworker, 25M, showed up and started talking to both of us, but it was mostly me and him chatting. At that point, she was stocking at the back end of the aisle, with the door wide open and her boat covering the area from behind. I had 15 minutes left and one last box to stock, which was supposed to go there. Instead of wasting time, I left the box to the side, planning to do it when I came back, went to the back to put my cardboards in the compactor, and grabbed a new boat to stock as much as I could. As I was going to get a new boat, she yelled something from a distance. I didn't quite hear her but assumed maybe she was letting me know she had stocked the box I left. I asked, "Did you do it?" and she said, "No," which confused me, especially since she never talks to me. But time was running out, so I took the boat and went to the floor where the carton was and started stocking it. That's when my manager, who was working nearby, asked me, "Did you leave that box for her?" I said, "No, it was mine to begin with." He said, "Okay," and moved on. Later, my 25M coworker showed up and told me that the girl was saying something about the box to him too, and that she was pissed. I was beyond angry at this point, but my shift was over. On my way out, I saw another manager and told him everything. He asked me to apologize to her, saying that placing the box next to her unspokenly told her to stock it. I told him that I understand it might be a miscommunication, but I never asked her to do it. And if she didn't want to stock it, she could have just left it there. He still said I should apologize, and we left it at that.